Have you ever noticed how one single negative thought can hijack your entire day? One careless word, one tiny setback, and suddenly the whole world feels darker, heavier, almost unbearable. But here's the shocking truth. It's not the world that has changed. It's the lens through which your mind is seeing it. Imagine if, with just a simple shift, you could reprogram your brain to always find the light hidden inside the shadows. Wouldn't you want to know how? If this message stirs something inside you, don't forget to subscribe to Buddhism in every moment. Your support gives us the strength to keep creating more meaningful, heart-opening videos like this one. Part 1. Why our minds lean toward negativity. There is a moment in life that everyone knows too well. You wake up in the morning, perhaps in a beautiful city like New York, where the sun peeks through your blinds and the streets hum with the sound of life awakening. You take a breath, stretch, and prepare yourself for what could be a good day. But then something small happens. A stranger cuts you off in traffic, your boss sends a cold email, or a single word from someone you love lands the wrong way. Instantly, the sunshine fades. Suddenly, everything feels darker and the entire day becomes heavy with disappointment. It's fascinating, isn't it? Out of hundreds of little things that go right, the coffee that tastes perfect, the gentle breeze as you step outside, the song on the radio that brings back a warm memory, our minds have the incredible power to disregard them all and instead zoom in on the one small event that went wrong. This is not just coincidence. This is how the human brain has been wired for thousands of years. We are natural-born collectors of the negative. Scientists call it the negativity bias. It is the brain's ancient survival mechanism. Long ago, our ancestors needed to constantly scan the environment for danger. A rustle in the bushes could mean food, but it could also mean a predator. Missing the good was unfortunate, but missing the bad could cost them their lives. Over time, the human brain evolved to give more weight to threats, mistakes, and losses than to joys, successes, and gains. It was never about fairness. It was about survival. And though most of us are no longer running from lions or hiding from dangers in the wild, our brains still carry that same programming. That's why, even today, one insult can outweigh a dozen compliments. One disappointment can erase weeks of contentment. One fear can overshadow a lifetime of safety. The brain clings to what hurts because it believes that by doing so, it is protecting you. Yet here is the irony. The very programming that once ensured survival has now become the very thing stealing joy from your daily existence. Picture yourself walking down a crowded street in Chicago. There are colors, laughter, the smell of food drifting out of a small restaurant, children's voices echoing, music spilling out of passing cars. There is so much life and so much to appreciate, but your mind doesn't settle there. Instead, it catches on a headline on a newsstand: tragedy, disaster, scandal. Without effort, your attention snaps to it and the brightness of the world dims just a little. This is the brain's negativity bias at work. It takes effort, awareness, and conscious choice to pull yourself back, to say, yes, that is happening, but look at all this beauty too. Most people never notice how much control this bias has over their daily lives. It dictates moods, relationships, decisions, and even the sense of self-worth. Someone may wake up feeling capable and full of energy, but one failure at work convinces them they are incompetent. A loving partner may give years of kindness, but one argument plants doubt about the entire relationship. We humans are not logical creatures. We are emotional ones. And because the negative holds such power, we often end up living in distorted realities, worlds that feel colder, harsher, and more hopeless than they actually are. But let's step back for a moment. Why does this matter? Why should we care so deeply about this built-in tendency? Because here is the truth that can shake you awake. If you do not learn to understand and reshape this bias, you will never truly know peace. You will always be at the mercy of whatever goes wrong, chained to every disappointment, prisoner of every fear. Think about it. How many moments of your life have been stolen by a single thought that replayed over and over? How many times have you stood in a beautiful place, perhaps watching the waves crash against the shore in California, or standing before the vastness of the Grand Canyon, yet your mind refused to rest because it was busy obsessing about something negative that had happened earlier? How many sunsets have you missed because your mind was stuck on one hurtful comment? This is what the negativity bias does. It robs us of presence, of gratitude, of the ability to enjoy what is already good. It creates a mirage where the bad feels bigger than it is, and the good feels smaller than it should. And unless we intervene, it quietly shapes our lives without us even realizing it. But here lies the possibility of transformation. Just because the brain is wired one way does not mean it must stay that way forever. Neuroscience has shown us something extraordinary. The brain is plastic. Not plastic like a bottle, but plastic in the sense that it can bend, stretch, and reshape itself. This quality is called neuroplasticity, and it means that with awareness and practice, we can literally reprogram our minds. We can train ourselves not to ignore the negative. It's impossible to live without it, but to balance it, to see the good alongside it, and eventually to let the good take the lead. Yet the first step is always awareness. To change the way your mind works, you must first notice it. This means catching yourself when the bias hijacks your thoughts. It means pausing long enough to say, wait, is this really as bad as it feels, or is my mind magnifying it? It means daring to ask, what else is true? Because even in your hardest moments, there is always something else true. The pain may be real, but so is the love that surrounds you. The fear may be loud, but so is the resilience inside you. The disappointment may sting, but so does the hope that has carried you through every storm before this one. Take an ordinary example. You spill coffee on your shirt before a meeting. Instantly, frustration rises. You begin to think, this always happens to me. Why am I so careless? Now my whole day is ruined. That is the bias speaking. But pause and you may see another truth. Yes, this is inconvenient, but I have other clothes. I am still capable of doing my job. This is just a small event in a very long day. Suddenly, the world doesn't collapse. Suddenly, you reclaim perspective. It is not about denying the negative. It is about refusing to give it the power to dominate. Imagine holding two stones in your hand, one heavy and one light. If you stare only at the heavy one, you will convince yourself that your hand cannot carry the weight. But when you notice the lighter one too, you realize balance is possible. The brain works the same way. By seeing the good along with the bad, the weight of life becomes bearable again. Now here is where it gets even more interesting. Every time you make the choice to redirect your focus, to remind yourself of the good, you are building new pathways in the brain. Over time, these pathways strengthen, and what once felt forced begins to feel natural. The negative will still appear, but it will no longer hold you hostage. You will have trained your mind to notice the light even when the dark is loud. And that is the essence of reprogramming, not to erase the human tendency toward negativity, but to reshape it so that you are no longer dominated by it. Life will always contain challenges, heartbreaks, and difficulties. But if your mind has been taught to seek the good, then even in the hardest of times, you will find something steady to hold on to. Think again of the city morning. The stranger still cuts you off in traffic. The boss still sends a curt email. The argument with a loved one may still sting. But now, alongside those things, you also notice the laughter of a child on the sidewalk, the taste of your coffee, the sunlight on your skin. And these moments, though they seem small, become anchors. They remind you that life is not only pain, it is also beauty. It is not only disappointment, it is also joy. The question is not whether both exist. The question is which one you will train yourself to see first. That choice, what you see first, can change everything. Because the first thing you notice often sets the tone for the rest of your day. If you teach your brain to first notice the good, then the bad no longer overshadows everything else. Instead, it becomes one part of the story, not the whole story. And slowly, day by day, You build a different life, not because the world has changed, but because your way of seeing it has. When we begin to understand the force of negativity bias, it's almost like realizing that you have been living with a quiet but persuasive narrator in your mind, a narrator who exaggerates your flaws, highlights your mistakes, and whispers stories of failure louder than stories of hope. This narrator has been there since childhood, shaping how you see yourself and the world around you. Think back to your earliest school years. Maybe you received 100 kind words from teachers, but the one time a classmate laughed at your answer during a lesson, that memory stuck. Decades later, you might not recall the compliments, but you can remember the sting of that laughter. Or think of the times you were told "good job" at work, praised for showing up, delivering, creating. But the one performance review that pointed out your weaknesses carved itself into your memory like stone. This is not weakness. It is not personal failure. It is biology. Your brain was simply designed to cling to the negative. Yet, acknowledging that truth should not discourage you, it should liberate you. Because once you realize that your mind is biased, you stop mistaking that bias for reality. The voice that tells you you're not enough, you always fail, nothing ever works out, that voice is not the truth. It is the echo of your brain's survival instinct. It is simply louder than the softer truths, but that does not make it right. Let me take you to a busy street in Los Angeles. Cars honk, people rush past each other, everyone seems caught in their own storms. A man is carrying groceries and trips slightly on the curb. Instantly, his mind explodes with self-criticism. I look stupid. Everyone saw that. I'm clumsy. Why do I always embarrass myself? Yet in reality, no one even noticed. People are too lost in their own worries. The truth is that we magnify our negatives not only when they are real, but also when they are imagined. We live in stories our minds create, and the bias makes sure those stories lean towards shame, fear, and inadequacy. Why does this matter so deeply? Because every time you believe those distorted stories, you give them power. You let them write your narrative. Instead of living fully, you shrink. Instead of daring, you doubt. Instead of appreciating what is working, you obsess about what is not. Life becomes a gallery where only the darkest paintings are illuminated, while the masterpieces of joy hang in the shadows unseen. But let us pause and reflect. Is it possible that this bias, though heavy, can also be a teacher? Consider this. Without difficulty, you would not know resilience. Without sorrow, you would not understand joy. Without darkness, light would not be so striking. The negativity bias, though it seems cruel, is also what has allowed humans to survive, adapt, and evolve. The goal is not to eliminate it. That is impossible. The goal is to make peace with it, to understand its presence, and then to consciously choose balance. One powerful way to do this is by questioning the stories your mind tells. Let's say you make a mistake at work. Instantly, your mind screams, "I'm incompetent. My boss thinks less of me. This is the beginning of the end." Instead of swallowing this story whole, ask, what else could be true? Maybe you made a mistake, yes, but maybe you also handled dozens of other tasks with excellence today. Maybe your boss didn't even notice. Maybe this mistake will teach you something that prevents a bigger problem later. The event is real, but the catastrophic story is not. I remember standing once in Times Square, surrounded by the sensory overload of New York. Giant screens flashing, people brushing shoulders, taxis rushing past. It struck me how easily the negative grabs attention in such chaos. A siren blaring, a headline screaming tragedy, a single frown in the sea of faces our minds latch on. Yet in that same moment there are also people holding hands, a street musician playing soulful jazz, a child laughing at bubbles floating through the air. Both exist at once, but unless you train yourself to notice, your eyes and mind will keep defaulting to the noise of the negative. Negativity bias is like gravity. Left alone, it pulls you downward. But with awareness, you can learn to defy it, to rise above. It begins with micro choices. When someone criticizes you, can you balance it by remembering 3 compliments you've received? When you fail at something, can you recall the times you succeeded? When you feel consumed by fear, can you remind yourself of the storms you've survived before? These are not just feel-good tricks. They are exercises in neuroplasticity. Every time you redirect your attention, you are building new neural circuits. Over time, these circuits become stronger and your natural response shifts. Think about what this means for your daily life. Imagine walking through San Francisco on a foggy morning. The fog rolls in heavy, obscuring the bridge, the skyline, the water. It seems like the world is only gray. But the truth is that the city is still there, vibrant and alive. The fog has only covered it for a while. Negativity works the same way. It can obscure, but it cannot erase what is good. Your role is to remember the city beneath the fog, to trust that light still exists behind the clouds. And here is something that often shocks people. Because of negativity bias, even when good and bad experiences are equal in number, the bad will feel stronger. Psychologists suggest it can take up to 5 positive experiences to outweigh one negative one. Think about that. 5 good moments just to balance one bad. That is the scale we are working with. Which means that if you want a joyful, peaceful, balanced life, you must actively create and notice more positive experiences. Joy will not hunt you down, you must seek it. Let me give you an image. Imagine you are holding a journal. Every evening you must record the events of your day. If you only write down what hurt, what annoyed, what disappointed, then in a year's time your journal will tell the story of a miserable life. But if you intentionally record what uplifted you, what inspired you, what made you laugh, then your journal will paint a different story, one that feels lighter, fuller, and more beautiful. The life is the same. The story is different. And the story you choose becomes the reality you experience. This is why learning to work with negativity bias is not a luxury. It is survival for the soul. Without it, you risk drowning in distorted perceptions. With it, you reclaim the power to shape your inner world. Now pause and ask yourself, how many times have I let one negative comment outweigh the dozens of times someone expressed love? How many times have I let one failure erase years of effort? How many times have I believed the story that nothing good ever happens, even as blessings surrounded me? The first step in reprogramming your mind is to stop believing the bias is truth. Begin to see it as what it is, a survival instinct, outdated and exaggerated for modern life. When you name it, you shrink its power. When you catch it, you reclaim your freedom. And once you see it clearly, you can begin to rise. Rise above the voice that tells you that you are less. Rise above the story that convinces you that the bad defines everything. Rise into a new way of living, where you notice what is beautiful even in the midst of what is broken. This rising is not instant. It is a practice. It takes patience, persistence, and compassion for yourself. But imagine what it could mean, to walk through your days not as a prisoner of negativity but as a seeker of light. To know that while pain is real, it does not define you. To believe that even in the darkest night, stars are present if only you choose to look up. There is something almost seductive about negativity. It pulls you in the way a dark storm pulls your eyes to the horizon. Even when there is beauty nearby, your attention is stolen by the thundercloud. This is not only about survival but also about familiarity. The more often your mind has repeated its stories of fear and failure, the more comfortable those stories feel. Pain becomes a habit. Worry becomes a routine. And before long, negativity is not just a visitor in your mind. It has become a resident. Think of the times you've lain awake at night, the room silent, the world asleep, yet your mind replaying every mistake of the past decade. Why does it not replay your moments of triumph, your laughter, your victories? Because the negative has dug deeper grooves in your memory. Your brain, trying to protect you, rehearses what hurt you as if preparing for battle. But all it really does is exhaust you. This is why so many people wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep. The body rested, but the mind wrestled shadows all night. Negativity bias makes it hard to rest in the good. And when you cannot rest in the good, you cannot fully live. But here is a paradox. Negativity is loud, but it is not accurate. It screams louder than joy, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Imagine walking through Central Park in New York. Around you are families picnicking, joggers moving with rhythm, the smell of flowers blooming in the spring. But suddenly, you hear one person shouting angrily on the phone. That voice drowns everything else in your awareness. You go home later, and when asked, "How was the park?" you might say, "It was stressful, so much noise." But was that true? Or did your mind's bias turn one angry voice into the headline for your entire experience? This is the trap most of us live in daily. We summarize our lives by their lowest moments. We define relationships by their sharpest conflicts. We measure our worth by our deepest failures. And in doing so, we let the bias dictate our destiny. Yet what if you could step outside of that automatic reaction? What if you could choose the headline for your day instead of letting the loudest voice decide? That is where freedom begins. Let's take an example. A woman in Seattle begins her morning with intention. She writes down 3 things she is grateful for, takes a breath, and sets out into the rain. By afternoon, she makes a mistake in her work presentation. Instantly, her brain magnifies it. You embarrassed yourself. Everyone thinks you're incompetent. But because she has practiced awareness, she pauses. She asks herself, is this the whole truth? What else happened today? She remembers her coworker who smiled and thanked her for her help earlier. She recalls the email praising her from the week before. She acknowledges that yes, she stumbled, but it was one moment in a larger picture of dedication and value. Her day no longer collapses. Instead of drowning in one mistake, she sees the balance. That is what reprogramming looks like in practice. The danger of negativity bias is not only in how we see ourselves, but also in how we see others. Think about relationships. One argument can make you forget years of kindness. One flaw can blind you to countless acts of love. Couples often find themselves saying, "You never listen, you never care, you always do this," as if one negative trait defines the whole person. But no human is only their worst moment. Just as you are not only your failures, neither is anyone else. Recognizing the bias allows us to approach relationships with more grace, more balance, more truth. And what about society as a whole? Watch the news for 10 minutes and you may believe the world is collapsing. Tragedy, violence, scandal, they dominate headlines. But why? Because negativity captures attention. It sells. 100 planes land safely and no one writes about it. One plane crashes and it becomes the story of the year. Does this mean the world is only danger and despair? Of course not. But if you allow the bias, fueled by media, to shape your perception, you will believe you are living in a darker world than you really are. That belief influences how you treat others, how you raise your children, how you face the future. And slowly, hope withers. To live wisely in this age, you must take responsibility for your lens. You cannot change the fact that the world contains both light and shadow, but you can change the way you see it. Imagine standing at the rim of the Grand Canyon. One person says, "It's too hot, too crowded, I just want to leave." Another says, "This is one of the most breathtaking views of my life." Both are standing in the same place. Both are telling different stories. Which one do you want to be? Reprogramming begins by questioning automatic judgments. Your brain will always offer you the darker angle first, but you can ask, is there another angle? When you feel yourself spiraling into complaint, ask, what beauty am I ignoring? When you are convinced the world is against you, ask, what goodness have I overlooked? This questioning builds resilience. It allows you to resist being defined by the bias. And in time, it does something remarkable. It builds hope. Not a shallow, blind optimism that denies problems, but a grounded hope that sees the whole picture. The world is hard, yes, but it is also beautiful. People can be cruel, yes, but they can also be kind. You can fail, yes, but you can also rise again. Both truths exist. Which truth you live in depends on which one you feed. Let me give you another image. Picture walking through Kyoto in spring. Cherry blossoms drift through the air, a scene of breathtaking beauty. But as you walk, you notice one branch broken, lying on the ground. If you stare only at the broken branch, you might say, "What a shame, the trees are ruined." Yet around you, thousands of blossoms still bloom, an entire landscape singing with color. Life is like this. The broken branches are real, but so are the blossoms. The bias pushes you toward the branch. Wisdom teaches you to lift your eyes to the bloom. And here is a truth that many resist. Happiness is not natural for most people. Survival is natural. Fear is natural. Caution is natural. Happiness must be chosen, cultivated, practiced. If you wait for your brain to deliver joy to you automatically, you will wait forever. Joy is the reward for those who choose to fight the pull of negativity and train themselves to see more. Ask yourself, do you want to be a collector of wounds or a collector of wonders? Do you want to replay every insult or replay every kindness? Do you want your memories to be albums of pain or galleries of beauty? The choice is yours, and it begins now with awareness of the bias and the courage to shift it. Negativity will never vanish. The storms will come, the nights will be long, the fears will whisper. But even in those moments, you can anchor yourself in the good. You can remind yourself, this is not the whole story. Life is larger than this pain. The sun has not stopped shining just because clouds cover it. And when you live this way, something profound begins to happen. You start to notice the small things, the warmth of your coffee, the smile of a stranger, the music on the street corner. These details, once invisible, become treasures. And over time, you realize that joy was never absent. It was only hidden beneath the noise. There is a quiet tragedy in realizing how many moments of beauty we miss simply because our minds are not trained to notice them. Imagine standing on the cliffs of Big Sur, the Pacific Ocean stretching endlessly before you, waves breaking with thunderous rhythm. The air is crisp, filled with salt and wind, and for a moment you feel the vastness of existence. Yet in the same instant, your phone buzzes and a single negative email pulls you out of that sacred view. Your attention collapses onto the words, the complaint, the criticism. You no longer see the ocean. You no longer feel the wind. All that remains is the bias, hijacking yet another moment of your life. This is what happens daily. The sunset is breathtaking, but you are busy worrying about tomorrow. The laughter of a loved one rings in the room, but you are replaying an old hurt. Life is offering you beauty, but the bias keeps telling you that only the sharp edges matter. And when this happens again and again, you begin to live as if joy is rare, when in reality joy is everywhere, hidden under the weight of your own attention. Negativity bias doesn't just distort your present, it rewrites your past and colors your future. Think of memory. A family vacation might have been filled with laughter, discoveries, and small adventures. But if one argument broke out, years later you may recall the trip as stressful. The mind rewrites the entire memory around the negative moment. The same is true for your future. If you failed once, the bias whispers, you will fail again. If someone betrayed you, the bias warns, never trust again. And slowly, without even realizing, your past hurts become the prison bars of your future possibilities. But here is the profound truth. Just because your mind has written a story doesn't mean you cannot rewrite it. Memory is malleable. Perception is flexible. Every time you revisit the past and choose to also notice what was good, you loosen the grip of negativity. Every time you dare to imagine a future where hope is possible, you weaken the voice that says only despair awaits. There is a powerful practice here. Begin to tell fuller stories. Instead of saying, "That was a terrible year," pause and ask, "What good also happened in that year?" Maybe you lost a job, but maybe you also discovered strength you didn't know you had. Maybe a relationship ended, but maybe you also deepened friendships that carried you through. When you tell the fuller story, you take the pen back from the bias. You stop letting one shadow define the whole landscape. Consider the city of Paris. For some, it is remembered as a place of beauty, art, romance. For others, one unpleasant encounter might taint the entire memory. A rude waiter, a missed train, a lost wallet. Both stories are true in fragments, but only one captures the whole. Which story you carry determines not only how you remember but also how you live now. And this leads us to the most essential realization. Negativity bias is not destiny. It is default, and defaults can be changed. You do not have to live chained to the loudest voice in your mind. You can learn to pause, to question, to balance, and eventually to rewire. It will not be instant, it will not be easy, but it will be worth it because the cost of not changing is a life half lived, a world half seen. Let us imagine for a moment a life where you remain at the mercy of this bias. Years pass. You achieve things, but you never savor them because the one failure always feels bigger. You build relationships, but you never fully trust them because one conflict always feels final. You walk through cities, landscapes, sunsets, but you never truly see them because your mind is always busy replaying shadows. At the end, you look back and feel that life was heavy, joy was rare, peace was fleeting. But was it true? Or was it only the lens you never changed? Now imagine the alternative. The same failures come, the same conflicts, the same losses. But you have trained your mind to balance, to seek, to notice. You fall, but you also see how you stood again. You argue, but you also recall the kindness that surrounded that moment. You lose, but you also see the gains you never acknowledged before. At the end, you look back and realize that life was both heavy and light, both storm and calm. But you chose to hold the calm closer, and that choice made all the difference. So how do we begin to make this choice? We start with awareness. Each time a negative thought arises, name it. This is my bias speaking. Each time a bad moment overshadows the day, pause. This is not the whole truth. Each time you replay a wound, remind yourself, this is one page in the story, not the entire book. Awareness does not silence the bias, but it loosens its grip. Then comes intention. You must decide daily to feed the good. This can be as simple as writing 3 good things at night, or pausing each morning to notice one beauty before you check your phone. It can be as profound as forgiving someone who hurt you, not because it erases the wound, but because it frees you from carrying it. Every small act of intention is a rebellion against the bias. Finally, there is repetition. The brain learns by habit. The more often you practice awareness and intention, the more natural it becomes. Over months and years, the grooves of negativity begin to soften, and new grooves of positivity take shape. You will find yourself noticing beauty without trying, remembering blessings without forcing, believing in hope without faking. This is neuroplasticity in action. This is the miracle of being human. You are not fixed. You are fluid. You can change. And perhaps this is the greatest invitation, to live not as a victim of your mind's bias, but as the author of your perception. To know that while you cannot erase the storms of life, you can choose to also see the rainbows that follow. To know that while darkness is real, so is the light, and you are capable of holding both. So let me ask you now, what would your life look like if you trained your mind to always see the good? How many moments of beauty would return to you? How many relationships would soften and heal? How much lighter would your days feel? This is not a fantasy. It is a practice, and it begins the moment you choose to believe that your mind can be reshaped. Because in truth, life has always been a mixture of shadow and shine. The only difference is the lens, and when you reprogram your lens, you reprogram your life. Part 2. The power of perspective reframing every situation. Imagine standing on a mountain peak looking out at the vast landscape beneath you. The valleys are deep, the ridges are sharp, and the skies stretch endlessly. From your vantage point, the view is breathtaking. Yet, if you were standing at the bottom of that same mountain, the view would be entirely different. You would only see the rough terrain, the steep incline, the difficulty of the climb. The challenge would overshadow the possibility. This is the power of perspective. From one vantage point, everything can seem insurmountable. From another, the same challenges can look like opportunities for growth. What changes in between is not the world around you, but the way you choose to see it. The key to a more fulfilling life is not to wait for the world to change, but to shift how you perceive it. This simple act of reframing, A mental shift that changes the way we interpret our experiences has the power to transform your entire reality. Most of us go through life with the lens of negativity bias firmly in place, shaped by past hurts, disappointments, and fears. When we face a challenge, our immediate response is often shaped by our conditioning. We instinctively expect failure or fear the worst. But what if we could learn to see every situation as an opportunity to grow, rather than a threat to our safety or success? What if, instead of seeing problems as obstacles, we saw them as invitations to evolve? The concept of reframing is simple yet powerful. It involves changing the way we think about situations, emotions, or events by viewing them from a different angle. Reframing allows us to step back from the knee-jerk emotional reaction and look at the bigger picture. It helps us see the whole story, rather than focusing on the isolated parts that cause us distress. When we reframe, we create space for new possibilities to emerge, possibilities that we might have missed if we were stuck in the same old pattern of thinking. Let's take a closer look at how reframing works in real life. Picture a difficult conversation with a colleague at work. You might initially feel defensive, frustrated, or even angry. The old way of thinking would be to see this conversation as a confrontation, a source of stress that you want to avoid. But what if you chose to reframe the situation? What if you decided to see the conversation as an opportunity to understand your colleague better, to communicate more clearly, or to find common ground? By reframing, you change the energy of the entire experience. What once seemed threatening now becomes a chance for growth. You shift from being a passive participant in a negative experience to an active creator of a positive outcome. This is the magic of reframing. It changes how we approach life's challenges. Instead of shrinking from difficulty, we learn to face it with curiosity and resilience. Instead of allowing fear to control us, we use it as a tool for growth. Reframing doesn't mean ignoring the negative. It means expanding our vision so that the good can shine alongside the bad. It helps us see the potential in every situation, no matter how difficult it may seem at first. Reframing can also have a profound impact on how we see ourselves. Our sense of self-worth is often tied to how we perceive our successes and failures. We live in a world that values achievement and perfection, and when we fall short of these standards, we can feel like we are less than or not good enough. But reframing allows us to step out of this cycle. Let's say you've been working on a project for weeks, pouring in your time, effort, and energy. But when the results are revealed, they fall short of expectations. Your first reaction might be to feel inadequate or defeated. However, reframing the situation involves shifting your perspective. Instead of focusing solely on the failure, you can choose to focus on the lessons learned, the skills you developed, and the resilience you built in the process. When you reframe, you see your journey as a success in itself, not just the end result. You begin to realize that failure is not a reflection of who you are. It is simply part of the process of growth. Reframing can also transform the way we experience relationships. Think about the inevitable conflicts that arise in any relationship, whether with a partner, a friend, or a family member. In the heat of the moment, it can be easy to feel anger, hurt, or frustration. We might even start to believe that the relationship is doomed or that the other person doesn't care. But reframing allows us to take a step back and see things differently. Instead of viewing the conflict as a personal attack, we can reframe it as a misunderstanding, an opportunity to communicate more effectively, or a chance to better understand each other's needs. When we reframe, we shift our focus from blame to understanding. We start to see the relationship not as a battlefield, but as a partnership where both people are trying to navigate their own challenges. This shift in perspective can lead to deeper empathy, compassion, and connection. By reframing, we open the door to healing and growth, both individually and together. The power of reframing is also evident in how we approach failure. In a society that glorifies success and achievement, Failure often carries a stigma. We are conditioned to fear failure and to avoid it at all costs. But what if failure is not the enemy? What if it is simply a stepping stone on the path to success? When we reframe failure, we see it not as something to be ashamed of, but as a necessary part of the process. Consider a successful entrepreneur who has faced multiple setbacks before finding success. If this person had viewed each failure as the end of the road, they would never have continued. But by reframing failure as a learning experience, they saw each setback as an opportunity to pivot, adjust, and grow stronger. In this way, failure becomes not something to fear but something to embrace. It is a reminder that growth comes from struggle, and success is built on a foundation of resilience. Reframing also helps us deal with the emotional challenges that arise in life. It is easy to get caught up in negative emotions, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and allow them to define our experience. But reframing allows us to step outside of our emotions and view them with a more compassionate eye. Instead of seeing anger as a destructive force, we can reframe it as a signal that something in our life needs attention or change. Instead of seeing sadness as a weakness, we can reframe it as a sign of emotional depth and sensitivity. This shift in perspective allows us to experience our emotions fully without being controlled by them. It empowers us to acknowledge our feelings without letting them define our actions. Reframing helps us cultivate emotional intelligence, allowing us to process our emotions in healthy ways and use them as tools for growth and healing. Ultimately, reframing is about more than just changing our thoughts. It is about changing the way we experience life itself. By shifting our perspective, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, new opportunities, and new ways of being. We no longer live at the mercy of our biases and fears, but rather as active creators of our own reality. Reframing empowers us to see the good in every situation, to find meaning in every challenge, and to embrace the fullness of life with open arms. And when you begin to reframe, you notice something remarkable. The world doesn't change, but your experience of it does. Where once you saw problems, you now see opportunities. Where once you felt stuck, you now feel free. And where once you lived in fear, you now live in possibility. This is the power of perspective. It's not about changing the world around you. It's about changing how you see it. As we continue exploring the transformative power of reframing, it becomes increasingly clear that this is not just an intellectual exercise. It is a practical tool that shapes how we live, how we act, and how we interact with others. Reframing is a bridge between where we are and where we want to be. It is a bridge between suffering and growth, between limitation and freedom. And in the context of life's inevitable challenges, it becomes a lifeline, offering us a way to navigate storms without being crushed by them. One of the most striking aspects of reframing is its ability to turn adversity into opportunity. Let's consider someone who is facing a personal crisis, perhaps the loss of a job, the end of a relationship, or a significant health issue. In the moment, the pain feels unbearable. It seems like life has dealt an unfair hand. The natural response is often to ask, "Why me? Why is this happening?" This is where reframing becomes invaluable. Instead of getting stuck in the "why me" mentality, reframing asks you to shift your focus from the question of why something is happening to the question of, "What is this situation inviting me to learn?" This subtle shift can make all the difference. It takes you out of victimhood and into a mindset of empowerment. Instead of focusing solely on the pain of the moment, you begin to look for the lessons and the opportunities that lie beneath the surface. For instance, if someone loses their job, the immediate reaction might be to feel devastated, as if everything they've worked for is slipping away. But reframing allows them to ask, "What doors are now open to me that I had not seen before? What new path could this loss be pushing me toward? How can I grow from this?" Suddenly, the situation transforms from an ending into a beginning. The job loss becomes an invitation to explore new possibilities, develop new skills, or even pursue a passion that had been long neglected. It is not the loss itself that defines the person, but the way they choose to perceive and respond to it. This is the essence of reframing. It is the recognition that even in our darkest moments, there are hidden blessings. The shift in perspective allows us to transcend the immediate pain and see beyond it. It does not erase the hurt, but it offers us the tools to move forward with a sense of purpose and hope. Another powerful example of reframing comes in the context of relationships. It's easy to see conflicts or misunderstandings as signs that a relationship is failing, that people are incompatible, or that things will never work out. But reframing gives us the ability to see disagreements as opportunities for growth. When we reframe, we start to see arguments not as threats but as invitations to better understand one another. We stop viewing conflict as something to avoid, and instead, we start to see it as a necessary and even healthy part of any relationship. Think about a married couple who experiences a serious disagreement. The old way of thinking would lead them to feel defeated or disconnected. The negativity bias would have them focusing on the emotions of the moment, anger, frustration, hurt, and using these emotions as evidence that the relationship is doomed. But reframing allows them to step back and ask, what can we learn from this situation? What is this disagreement teaching us about our needs, our communication styles, and our values? By reframing the situation, the couple can use the conflict as a foundation for deeper understanding, better communication, and ultimately a stronger relationship. This practice of reframing can also extend to how we view ourselves. How many times have you faced a setback and automatically assumed it meant something about your worth? You make a mistake at work, and you think, I'm not good enough. You miss a goal you set for yourself, and you conclude, I'm a failure. This is the danger of not reframing. We start to believe that our failures define us, rather than seeing them as part of the learning process. When we practice reframing, we begin to view ourselves with greater compassion and understanding. Instead of labeling ourselves based on our failures, we start to see each mistake as a stepping stone on the path to growth. Instead of saying, I failed, we can reframe and say, I am learning, I am evolving, I am on the path. This simple shift changes everything about how we view ourselves. It removes the shame and self-judgment that often accompany failure and replaces them with curiosity and self-compassion. It's important to note that reframing doesn't require us to deny the negative aspects of life. It doesn't mean that we ignore pain, suffering, or disappointment. Instead, it means that we learn to balance these negative experiences with a broader perspective that acknowledges the positive, the hopeful, and the possible. Reframing is not about dismissing the challenges we face. It's about finding the strength to rise above them, to see beyond them, and to use them as fuel for our personal transformation. This process of reframing is, in many ways, a spiritual practice. It invites us to step outside of our own egos and to see life from a higher vantage point. It asks us to let go of the small, self-centered view of the world and to embrace a more expansive, compassionate view. When we practice reframing, we start to see life not as a series of isolated events but as a connected, unfolding journey. We begin to understand that each moment, each experience is part of a larger story, a story that is constantly evolving and filled with meaning. The beauty of reframing is that it can be applied to any area of life. Whether it's your career, your relationships, your health, or your personal growth, reframing has the power to change the way you experience everything. It allows you to approach challenges with greater resilience, to see failures as lessons, and to embrace uncertainty as an opportunity for growth. It is a mindset that frees you from the shackles of negativity and opens up a world of possibility. But how do we cultivate the ability to reframe? Like any skill, reframing takes practice. It requires mindfulness, patience, and a willingness to step outside of our automatic reactions. One of the best ways to develop this skill is through journaling. By writing down our thoughts and feelings, we can begin to see the patterns of negativity that shape our perceptions. We can ask ourselves, what is the negative story I am telling myself? What would it look like if I reframed this situation? Another powerful tool for reframing is meditation. By cultivating a regular meditation practice, we can develop the awareness necessary to notice when our minds are drifting into negativity. Meditation helps us create space between our thoughts and our reactions, allowing us to choose a more balanced perspective. It also helps us cultivate a sense of equanimity, the ability to remain calm and centered, even in the midst of difficulty. Reframing also requires a shift in how we define success and failure. In a culture that often measures worth by external achievements, it can be difficult to reframe failure as part of the process of growth. But when we let go of the need to be perfect, we begin to see that every step, whether forward or backward, is part of the journey. Each step brings us closer to understanding, to wisdom, to the person we are meant to become. In the end, reframing is not just about changing our thoughts, it's about changing our relationship with life itself. It's about choosing to see the beauty, the opportunity, and the possibility that exists in every moment, no matter how challenging it may seem. When we choose to reframe, we are choosing to live with greater clarity, greater compassion, and greater hope. We are choosing to see the good, even in the midst of the bad. And that ultimately is the power of perspective. Part 3. Gratitude as a daily reset. There's a quiet power in gratitude, an almost magical force that can transform the way we experience life. We live in a world that constantly pulls our attention toward what's wrong, what's missing, what's broken. From the moment we wake up, our minds are bombarded with information, tasks, and obligations. It's easy to become overwhelmed, stressed, or even disconnected from the simple joys that are right in front of us. But there is one simple practice that can reset your mind and soul: gratitude. Gratitude is more than just a fleeting feeling. It is a mindset, a way of seeing the world that reorients our focus from scarcity to abundance, from problems to possibilities, from fear to hope. When we practice gratitude, we shift our perspective, opening our hearts to the goodness that surrounds us. And in doing so, we reprogram our brains to notice and appreciate what is already good in our lives. This simple yet profound practice has the power to heal, to renew, and to bring us back to a place of inner peace, no matter what challenges we face. There's a moment I want you to imagine. It's late afternoon and you're standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon. The sun is beginning to set, casting long shadows across the vast, rocky expanse. The colors of the canyon shift from deep reds to golden hues, and the sky is painted with shades of pink, purple, and orange. You can feel the cool breeze against your skin, hear the faint rustle of leaves in the wind, and breathe in the crisp, earthy air. For a moment, time slows down. You stand still, fully present in the moment, taking it all in. This is the power of being present, of stopping long enough to see, to feel, to appreciate. But how often do we give ourselves the time to do this? How often do we pause in the middle of our busy lives to recognize the beauty and goodness that surround us? In the midst of our chaos, it's easy to forget how much we have to be grateful for. But moments like the one at the Grand Canyon are not isolated or rare. They are all around us, waiting to be noticed if only we stop to look. And this is where gratitude begins. Not with the big, life-changing events, but with the small, everyday moments that we often overlook. Gratitude as a daily reset is a powerful tool for mental and emotional wellness. It serves as an anchor when life feels chaotic, offering a grounding force that reminds us of the beauty and goodness that exist in every moment. The act of consciously choosing to focus on what we are grateful for trains our minds to see the good, even when the bad seems overwhelming. It is a practice of shifting our attention from what is lacking to what is abundant, from what is negative to what is positive, from what is hard to what is hopeful. One of the most effective ways to integrate gratitude into your daily life is through a simple yet transformative practice: writing a gratitude letter. Take a moment to think of someone who has had a positive impact on your life. It could be a friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a stranger who showed you kindness at just the right moment. Write them a letter, not necessarily to send, but to express your appreciation for what they've done for you, how they've supported you, and how they've made your life better. Write it as if you are sitting down face to face with them, pouring your heart out. The beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. By writing a gratitude letter, you are actively engaging your brain in the process of appreciation. You are rewiring your thoughts to focus on the positive influence this person has had in your life. As you reflect on their impact, you begin to recall the moments of kindness, support, and love that you've experienced with them. You start to realize just how much good exists in your life and how much you have to be thankful for. Even if you never send the letter, the act of writing it shifts your perspective. It anchors you in the truth that you are not alone, that you are supported, and that you are surrounded by love and goodness. This simple act of gratitude has the power to reset your emotional state, to lift you from feelings of frustration, worry, or overwhelm, and bring you back to a place of peace. But the practice of gratitude doesn't end with writing letters. Another powerful way to cultivate gratitude in your life is through a gratitude walk. This is exactly what it sounds like, taking a walk outside, whether it's through your neighborhood in the park or just around the block, and speaking aloud the things you are grateful for. As you walk, let your mind wander to all the things, big and small, that fill your life with goodness. You might start by appreciating the warmth of the sun on your face or the sound of birds singing in the trees. You might reflect on the love of your family, the beauty of nature, or the kindness of a stranger. You might even begin with something as simple as being thankful for your own breath, for the fact that you are alive and able to experience this moment. The power of a gratitude walk lies in its ability to engage multiple senses. As you walk, you are grounding yourself in the present moment, while also actively shifting your focus toward the positive. This practice encourages you to step outside of your own thoughts and immerse yourself in the world around you, appreciating the simple, everyday miracles that often go unnoticed. And as you continue to walk, your mind begins to relax, your body becomes more at ease, and your heart opens to the abundance that surrounds you. In this way, a gratitude walk becomes a form of moving meditation, a way to reset your mind and soul through movement, mindfulness, and appreciation. One of the most profound aspects of gratitude is its ability to transform the way we see challenges. When we practice gratitude, we begin to see difficulties not as burdens, but as opportunities for growth. The same challenges that once felt like obstacles become stepping stones, helping us become more resilient, more compassionate, and more capable of facing adversity. Gratitude allows us to see the value in even the most difficult experiences, helping us find meaning and purpose in the face of hardship. Think of someone who has gone through a personal struggle, perhaps a health crisis, a difficult breakup, or the loss of a loved one. At first, the pain might seem unbearable, but over time, as they practice gratitude, they begin to see how these experiences have shaped them, how they have learned to cope, grow, and evolve. They might start to feel grateful for the strength they discovered within themselves, for the support they received from others, or for the lessons they learned along the way. Gratitude helps us make sense of pain, turning it into wisdom. It doesn't erase the hurt, but it gives us a new lens through which to view it. The science behind gratitude is equally compelling. Research has shown that practicing gratitude on a regular basis can have profound effects on both our mental and physical health. Studies have found that people who engage in daily gratitude practices experience lower levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. They report feeling more optimistic, more satisfied with their lives, and more connected to others. Gratitude has even been shown to improve sleep quality, boost the immune system, and increase overall well-being. When we practice gratitude, we are literally rewiring our brains to focus on the positive, strengthening neural pathways that promote happiness, contentment, and resilience. Gratitude is not just an antidote to negativity. It is a transformative force in its own right. It has the power to change our perspective, heal our hearts, and reset our minds. The more we practice gratitude, the more natural it becomes to see the good in our lives, even in the midst of difficulty. And in doing so, we cultivate a sense of peace, joy, and fulfillment that is rooted in the present moment. So, how can you begin to incorporate gratitude into your daily life? Start small. Begin with a simple gratitude journal, writing down 3 things you are grateful for each day. Practice gratitude in the mornings as you wake up, or at night as you go to bed. Take time to reflect on the good things in your life and give thanks for them. And remember, the more you practice, the more it becomes a natural part of who you are. Gratitude is a habit that, once formed, transforms the way you experience the world. The beauty of gratitude is that it doesn't require anything extraordinary. It doesn't require grand gestures or dramatic life changes. All it requires is a willingness to notice, to appreciate, and to be present. And when you make gratitude a part of your daily life, you begin to see the world in a new light, a world filled with beauty, love, and infinite possibilities. The practice of gratitude is not simply a tool for shifting our mental state in a moment of difficulty. It is, in fact, a spiritual practice, a means of cultivating a deeper sense of connection to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. Gratitude, at its core, is an act of love. It is a way of acknowledging the richness of life, the beauty of relationships, and the miracles that occur in our everyday experiences. And when we embrace this practice, we unlock a profound sense of peace and fulfillment that can transform the very fabric of our lives. When we express gratitude, we are acknowledging the good in our lives. We are opening our hearts to the reality that despite the challenges, setbacks, and heartaches we face, there is always something worthy of appreciation. Gratitude reminds us that there is always something good to be found, even in the darkest of times. It allows us to refocus on what matters most: our health, our loved ones, our passions, and the simple joys that are often overlooked in the hustle and bustle of daily life. One of the most profound effects of gratitude is its ability to reframe our perception of time. In the modern world, we are often caught in a cycle of doing, constantly rushing from one task to the next, never taking a moment to pause and appreciate what we already have. Gratitude, however, invites us to slow down. It encourages us to be present in the moment, to savor the small things, and to fully experience the richness of life. Think about the difference between rushing through a meal and taking the time to truly savor each bite. When you are rushed, you barely notice the flavors, the textures, or the sensations. You're focused on getting through the meal so you can move on to the next task. But when you practice gratitude, you take the time to savor the experience. You notice the colors, the smells, the flavors. You appreciate the effort that went into preparing the meal and the nourishment it provides. Gratitude helps you slow down and experience life in all its fullness. In the same way, gratitude helps us slow down and appreciate the relationships we have. How many times do we take our loved ones for granted? How often do we fail to express appreciation for the people who support us, encourage us, and stand by our side? When we practice gratitude, we shift our focus from what our loved ones can do for us to what they already have done. We begin to recognize their value not just in terms of what they provide for us, but in the love, care, and presence they offer every day. Gratitude also enhances our relationships in another profound way. It strengthens our capacity for empathy and compassion. When we practice gratitude, we start to see others through a lens of appreciation. We begin to notice the good in others, their kindness, their generosity, their uniqueness, and we feel a deep sense of connection to them. Gratitude opens our hearts to the experiences of others, and it allows us to offer the same kindness and understanding that we have received. Imagine a situation where you have a disagreement with a friend or loved one. In the heat of the moment, it can be easy to focus on the frustration or hurt we feel. But if we pause and practice gratitude, we can reframe the situation. Instead of focusing on the negative aspects of the disagreement, we can appreciate the fact that the person is in our life, that they care enough to engage in the conversation, and that the relationship has weathered challenges before. Gratitude helps us see the relationship as a whole, not just in the light of the current conflict, but as part of a much larger, richer story of love and connection. At its most powerful, gratitude becomes a practice of radical acceptance. It encourages us to accept life as it is, not as we wish it to be, not as we fear it to become, but as it is in this moment. Gratitude invites us to embrace both the light and the dark, the good and the bad, with an open heart. It asks us to acknowledge our struggles without judgment, and to embrace the beauty of life even in the midst of difficulty. This acceptance allows us to release the resistance and frustration that so often accompanies our challenges. Instead of fighting against life, we flow with it. We find peace in the present moment, knowing that everything, both good and bad, is a part of the unfolding story of our lives. This is where the true power of gratitude lies. It is not just about feeling good in the moment. It is about transforming our relationship with life itself. Gratitude is the antidote to fear, doubt, and despair. It teaches us to trust, to hope, and to believe in the goodness that exists even in the midst of hardship. It reminds us that no matter what challenges we face, we are never truly alone, and we are always surrounded by blessings. As you continue to practice gratitude in your daily life, you will begin to notice profound shifts in the way you experience the world. You will feel more connected to the people around you, more at peace with yourself, and more attuned to the beauty that exists in every moment. You will begin to see life not as a series of problems to be solved, but as a collection of precious moments to be cherished. One of the most powerful aspects of gratitude is that it is available to everyone, at any time. No matter where you are in life, no matter what circumstances you are facing, you can always choose to practice gratitude. It costs nothing, requires no special skills, and takes only a few moments of your time. And yet, the impact it has on your life is immeasurable. To truly integrate gratitude into your life, consider adopting a daily gratitude practice. Begin each day by listing 3 things you are grateful for. These could be small things, like the warmth of your morning coffee or the beauty of the sunrise, or larger things like your health, your relationships, or your opportunities. Write them down or simply reflect on them in your mind. Over time, this simple practice will begin to shift your mindset, allowing you to see more and more of the goodness in your life. Another powerful tool for practicing gratitude is the gratitude jar. This is a simple but effective way to keep track of the things you are thankful for throughout the year. Place a jar somewhere visible in your home, and each time you feel grateful for something, whether big or small, write it down on a piece of paper and add it to the jar. At the end of the year, read through the notes to see just how much you have to be thankful for. This practice serves as a constant reminder of the blessings that surround you and helps you focus on the positive, no matter what else is happening in your life. Gratitude can also be a shared practice. Take time to express your appreciation to the people around you. Tell them what they mean to you, how they have impacted your life, and how grateful you are for their presence. By sharing gratitude, you create a ripple effect of positivity that not only strengthens your relationships but also spreads warmth and kindness to those around you. Gratitude is contagious. It's a practice that, when shared, can change the energy of an entire community. In conclusion, gratitude is not just a feel-good practice. It is a transformative force that has the power to change the way you experience life. When you practice gratitude, you reset your mind and soul, shifting from a place of scarcity and fear to a place of abundance and hope. You begin to see life in all its richness and beauty, even in the midst of challenges. Gratitude allows you to appreciate the simple joys, to recognize the blessings that are often hidden, and to open your heart to the possibility of more. It is a practice that, when embraced fully, can transform your life from the inside out. Part 4. surrounding yourself with the right energy. The energy that surrounds us is not merely a passive background to our lives. It is the very force that shapes our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. It is the invisible thread that connects us to everything we experience, and in many ways, it dictates the quality of our lives. From the moment we wake up to the sound of an alarm to the moment we fall asleep, we are constantly interacting with and absorbing the energy of our environment. This energy comes from many sources: our physical surroundings, the people we interact with, and, increasingly in today's world, the digital spaces we occupy. Every day, we are flooded with stimuli that influence our thoughts and emotions. The way we react to these stimuli can either build us up or tear us down, but the key to transforming your life is recognizing that you have the power to choose the energy that shapes your world. You can curate your environment, intentionally surrounding yourself with the right energy that supports your well-being, your growth, and your happiness. Your environment dictates your mindset in profound ways. If you spend your days surrounded by negativity, whether in the form of toxic relationships, constant bad news, or a cluttered, chaotic space, your mind will absorb that negativity. You will begin to mirror it. You will become trapped in the cycle of stress, fear, and dissatisfaction. But when you surround yourself with positive energy, when you intentionally choose environments and people that uplift you, your mind will start to reflect that positivity. It's easy to overlook just how much our surroundings influence our thinking. We often take for granted the impact of the people we spend time with or the content we consume. But the truth is, every conversation, every piece of media, and every interaction leaves an imprint on our minds. The more we allow ourselves to be immersed in negativity, the more it becomes a part of us. On the other hand, when we choose environments that nurture us, we begin to internalize the positivity, creativity, and peace that we experience in those spaces. Take, for example, the impact of social media. In today's world, social media is everywhere. It's a place where we can connect with friends and strangers alike, where we can find inspiration, and all too often, where we are bombarded with negativity. The news cycle is relentless, with headlines full of fear, anger, and tragedy. We are exposed to the worst parts of humanity, and while it's important to stay informed, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the constant stream of bad news. But here's the problem. When we expose ourselves too much to negativity, we start to absorb it. It becomes our lens for seeing the world. It shapes how we feel about ourselves, about others, and about life in general. The constant barrage of doom and gloom creates a mental environment of fear and stress. We begin to see the world as a dangerous place, filled with conflict and pain, and our energy becomes aligned with that fear. Social media, too, can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows us to connect with people across the globe, to share ideas, and to find community. But on the other hand, it can be a breeding ground for comparison, judgment, and negativity. We scroll through curated images of other people's lives, and it's easy to feel like we're falling short. We compare our struggles with others' highlight reels, and we forget that everyone's life is a complex story, not just the filtered moments we see online. This constant comparison can drain our energy, leaving us feeling inadequate, insecure, and discontent. Let me share a story that illustrates this point. It's a quiet afternoon in a cozy cafe in San Francisco. The air is filled with the soft hum of conversation, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, and the occasional clink of a spoon against a cup. I'm sitting by the window, watching the world outside, when I overhear a conversation between two people at a nearby table. They're discussing their work, their relationships, and their plans for the future. One of them is full of optimism, sharing ideas for new projects, expressing gratitude for the opportunities ahead. The other, however, is consumed by negativity. She speaks about her job with disdain, her relationships with frustration, and her dreams with doubt. It's clear that she feels stuck, unable to see any possibility for change or improvement. As I listen to their conversation, I notice how different their energy feels. The person speaking with optimism radiates a sense of possibility. There is an excitement in her words, a sense of hope that seems to light up the room. But the other person, the one caught in negativity, feels heavy. Her words are laced with frustration, resignation, and fear. It's as if her energy is pulling the entire conversation into a downward spiral. And as I reflect on the interaction, I realize that this is a perfect example of how the energy we choose to align with shapes our reality. The first person is not unaware of life's challenges. She faces difficulties just as everyone does, but her perspective is different. She chooses to focus on the opportunities, to see the lessons in the struggles, and to believe in the possibility of change. The second person, on the other hand, has become consumed by the weight of her negativity. She cannot see beyond her current circumstances, and her energy reflects that. She has allowed her environment, her experiences, and her mindset to trap her in a cycle of despair. This interaction highlights an essential truth. The energy we surround ourselves with shapes our perception of the world. It dictates how we respond to challenges, how we interact with others, and how we feel about ourselves. If we are constantly surrounded by negativity, whether through the people we interact with or the content we consume, we are more likely to mirror that negativity in our own lives. But if we intentionally seek out positive energy, if we surround ourselves with people and experiences that lift us up, we begin to reflect that positivity in our own lives. One powerful way to reset your energy is by taking a step back from the constant noise of social media and news. This is where the concept of a digital detox Sunday comes in. Imagine dedicating one day a week to unplugging from the digital world. No news, no social media, no emails. Just a day to reconnect with yourself and the world around you. This isn't about rejecting technology. It's about creating space for real experiences, real conversations, and real connections. A digital detox Sunday can be a game changer for your mental health. It allows you to step away from the constant stream of information that can overwhelm your senses and drain your energy. Without the pressure of keeping up with the latest headlines or scrolling through endless posts on social media, you can give yourself the gift of presence. You can spend the day outdoors, engage in a hobby, or simply rest and recharge. The key is to reconnect with the world around you without the distraction of digital noise. When we practice intentional disconnection, we allow ourselves the space to reset. We can shift our focus from external sources of influence to our internal world. We can reflect on what truly matters, realign our priorities, and reset our energy. This practice of digital detox doesn't just give us a break from the outside world. It helps us reconnect with our true selves, with what brings us peace and joy, and with the people who matter most. In addition to taking breaks from the digital world, we can also consciously choose the energy we surround ourselves with in our physical environment. The people we spend time with, the spaces we inhabit, and the activities we engage in all contribute to the energy that shapes our minds. If we want to cultivate a positive, empowering mindset, we must intentionally choose environments that support this. Think about the spaces you spend time in. Are they cluttered, chaotic, and draining, or are they peaceful, inspiring, and uplifting? A cluttered space can create a cluttered mind. When our physical environment is chaotic, our mental state often mirrors that chaos. But when we create calm, organized spaces, whether it's a tidy desk, a cozy living room, or a serene outdoor space, we signal to our brains that it's time to rest, reflect, and recharge. Our surroundings can serve as a constant reminder of the peace and clarity we seek in our minds. The same is true for the people we spend time with. Are you surrounded by people who uplift and inspire you, or by those who drain your energy? Relationships are a significant source of the energy that shapes our lives. Positive, supportive relationships can fuel us, while toxic, negative relationships can deplete us. If you find yourself surrounded by people who constantly complain, criticize, or bring you down, it's time to reassess those relationships. Surrounding yourself with the right energy is not just about choosing positive people. It's about choosing people who support your growth, who challenge you in constructive ways, and who bring out the best in you. It's about choosing relationships that make you feel seen, heard, and valued. When we intentionally choose to surround ourselves with people who align with our values and goals, we create an environment that fosters growth, positivity, and empowerment. Beyond people and physical spaces, the energy we absorb from our daily routines and habits is equally powerful. Every day we make hundreds of choices, often unconsciously, about what to pay attention to, what to prioritize, and how to react. These choices, repeated over time, accumulate into patterns that shape not only our thoughts, but also our emotions and overall mindset. For example, consider the daily habit of watching the news as soon as you wake up. Within minutes, your brain is flooded with stories of conflict, disasters, and negativity. Even if the events themselves are distant, the emotions they provoke, fear, anger, worry, become real in your own body and mind. Your energy shifts immediately, often before you even step out of your front door. Contrast that with a morning routine designed to foster positive energy. You could start your day with mindful breathing, gentle stretching, or journaling about what you are grateful for. Perhaps you spend a few moments reading an inspiring book, listening to music that uplifts your mood, or simply appreciating the quiet stillness of early morning. These deliberate choices prime your brain for positivity, focus, and clarity. They set the tone for the day, shaping not just your thoughts, but your responses to the challenges you will inevitably face. One practice that has profound effects is the intentional curation of your informational diet. Just as you would choose what food nourishes your body, you must be conscious of what content nourishes your mind. Social media, news outlets, even casual conversations can be sources of mental calories that either energize or deplete you. By intentionally selecting content that educates, uplifts, and inspires, you create a mental environment conducive to growth and positivity. This might mean following social media accounts that share motivational messages, insightful essays, or stories of resilience. It might mean subscribing to newsletters that focus on personal development rather than sensationalized news. It might even mean limiting exposure to online debates and commentary that feed frustration and anger. Each choice acts like a seed planted in your mind. Some grow into weeds of negativity, while others bloom into gardens of inspiration. The story of a cafe in San Francisco exemplifies this beautifully. I was sitting quietly at a small table, observing the patrons around me, when I noticed a group of friends engaged in conversation. Two of them were discussing a recent event with a focus on everything that had gone wrong, their energy tense and heavy. Another spoke about the same event but highlighted the lessons learned, the small victories, and the potential for growth. I could feel the contrast in the room. The negative energy was palpable, drawing attention and tension. The positive energy was equally tangible, creating curiosity, engagement, and a sense of ease. Even from a distance, simply witnessing the conversation, I could sense how profoundly the energy we absorb and emit affects not just our own state but those around us. This insight has practical implications. You can consciously choose the conversations, interactions, and environments you expose yourself to. It might mean politely distancing yourself from individuals who drain your energy or who consistently focus on negativity. It might mean seeking out mentors, friends, or colleagues whose energy is aligned with your values and goals. It might even mean restructuring your digital life so that what you consume supports, rather than undermines, your mental and emotional well-being. The idea of a digital detox Sunday is a powerful extension of this principle. By dedicating one day a week to disconnect from screens, news, and social media, you allow your mind to reset. You create a space to experience life directly, without the filter of external influences. You might take a long walk through a park, noticing the rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, or the smell of fresh grass after rain. You might spend time reflecting on your personal goals, journaling about your experiences, or connecting with loved ones face to face. Without the constant stream of external input, you allow your own inner energy to surface, and you can choose consciously what to focus on. This practice does more than provide temporary relief. It rewires your brain to seek and appreciate direct experience rather than being constantly pulled by external distractions. It strengthens the neural pathways associated with mindfulness, presence, and positive attention. In this way, a single day of intentional digital detox becomes a catalyst for a more sustained shift in energy, mindset, and life experience. Surrounding yourself with the right energy also involves physical space and lifestyle choices. Our environments, our homes, workplaces, and even the city streets we navigate, carry energy that influences our mood, creativity, and productivity. Cluttered, chaotic spaces tend to create mental tension, making it harder to focus, think clearly, and feel at ease. Organized, calm spaces, on the other hand, promote clarity, relaxation, and a sense of control. Small adjustments, such as keeping your desk tidy, arranging plants in your living space, or creating a dedicated area for meditation or reflection, can create an energetic shift that impacts every aspect of your life. Beyond the physical, energy is also affected by the quality of our interactions. Consider how different it feels to have a conversation that inspires curiosity, understanding, and connection versus one filled with judgment, gossip, or complaint. Positive interactions energize us, leaving us feeling uplifted, capable, and motivated. Negative interactions drain us, leaving us fatigued, anxious, and disengaged. Being mindful of the energy we invite into our lives, through both people and activities, is essential to maintaining mental and emotional resilience. Intentionality is key. Just as we plan our meals for nutritional balance, we must plan our exposure to energy for psychological and emotional balance. This means actively seeking environments and communities that reflect the qualities we want to cultivate in ourselves. It means being proactive rather than reactive, shaping your energy ecosystem to support growth, focus, and positivity. When we talk about surrounding ourselves with the right energy, we must also recognize the role of self-generated energy. Our internal state, the thoughts we entertain, the self-talk we engage in, the habits we cultivate, sets the tone for how external energy affects us. Even in challenging environments, we can maintain equilibrium by managing our internal energy. Practices like meditation, journaling, exercise, and intentional reflection create a reservoir of inner energy that buffers against external negativity. Moreover, the energy we cultivate internally attracts similar energy externally. People who radiate positivity, confidence, and calmness naturally draw others with similar energy. Conversely, those dominated by fear, criticism, or judgment attract people and situations that mirror those qualities. This is a fundamental principle of energy dynamics, like attracts like. By intentionally cultivating positive internal energy, we create a self-reinforcing cycle that shapes our external reality in favorable ways. Another critical aspect of surrounding yourself with the right energy is mindfulness of media consumption. The stories, images, and messages we repeatedly consume leave imprints on our consciousness. Exposure to stories of hope, resilience, and success can uplift, motivate, and expand perspective. Exposure to constant negativity, fear, or conflict can constrict, depress, and drain. Curating your media diet, selecting what informs, inspires, and educates rather than sensationalizes, becomes an essential practice for maintaining energetic balance. The process of curating your environment and energy is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing, intentional practice. Daily choices, what conversations you participate in, what social media accounts you follow, how you spend your free time, the music you listen to, the spaces you inhabit, accumulate into a persistent energetic field that shapes your thoughts, feelings, and actions. This cumulative effect is why energy management is not optional. It is central to mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Consider this. A person who spends years immersed in toxic conversations, negative social media, and chaotic environments may wonder why they feel constantly drained, anxious, or unfulfilled. It is not merely circumstance. It is the energy they have been allowing into their lives. Conversely, someone who deliberately cultivates spaces, relationships, and habits that reflect clarity, positivity, and support experiences a profound sense of vitality, purpose, and resilience. Ultimately, surrounding yourself with the right energy is a practice of personal sovereignty. It is a recognition that while you cannot control every circumstance, you can control what you allow to influence you. It is an acknowledgement that your mind and heart are precious, and that protecting them from unnecessary negativity is not selfish. It is essential. By combining conscious environment choices, mindful consumption of media, intentional relationships, and regular practices such as digital detox Sundays, gratitude walks, and reflective journaling, you create a protective ecosystem of positive energy. Within this ecosystem, your mind can flourish, your creativity can expand, and your emotional resilience can strengthen. The world may still contain challenges, negativity, and chaos, but within your carefully curated energy environment, you can navigate life with clarity, calmness, and purpose. As we explore this concept further, it becomes clear that energy is not only what we absorb, it is also what we radiate. Every thought we entertain, every emotion we feel, and every word we speak sends ripples into the world around us. The people we encounter, consciously or unconsciously, are affected by the energy we emit. A calm, centered, and positive energy can uplift a room, while stress, frustration, and negativity can create tension and conflict. This reciprocal dynamic is why surrounding yourself with the right energy is both inward and outward work. Not only do you cultivate spaces, media, and relationships that nourish you, but you also become a source of energy for others, amplifying the impact of positivity in your environment. Consider a morning in Boston, where a local cafe becomes a microcosm of energy dynamics. Some patrons enter hurriedly, tense from their commute, speaking sharply on their phones. Others sit quietly, enjoying their coffee, exchanging smiles with the barista, or reading thoughtfully. Even in this small setting, the energy is palpable. The tense group's hurried energy seems to create a subtle unease in the cafe, while the calm, present patrons exude an energy that makes the space feel lighter and more welcoming. Observing this, one can appreciate how our energy influences not only our inner state, but also the environment we inhabit and the people around us. This observation underscores the importance of mindful social engagement. Every conversation, even casual ones, carries energy. When we choose to engage in gossip, complaints, or negativity, we reinforce patterns that drain us and others. Conversely, when we engage in conversations that are uplifting, constructive, and empathetic, we create energetic momentum that supports our well-being and the well-being of those around us. This principle is critical. By consciously selecting the energy we bring into interactions, we shape both our experience and the experience of others. Another essential dimension is the curation of our digital environment. The internet is a vast, uncurated space, and without intention, it can become a constant source of stress, comparison, and distraction. Social media platforms, in particular, are engineered to capture attention, often amplifying sensationalized, fear-inducing, or conflict-oriented content. Left unchecked, this can become a primary source of negative energy, eroding mental clarity and emotional resilience. Practicing digital discernment, choosing which accounts to follow, which content to engage with, and when to disconnect, is therefore a critical step in protecting and cultivating positive energy. Digital detox Sundays, as mentioned earlier, are a concrete manifestation of this principle. By dedicating one day a week to disengage from screens and external stimuli, we create a space for reflection, presence, and reconnection with ourselves. During these days, simple activities such as walking outdoors, practicing mindfulness, reading a physical book, or engaging in deep conversations with loved ones allow us to recalibrate our energy. Over time, these periods of intentional digital rest cultivate a resilience against the pervasive pull of negativity and overstimulation. In addition to these practices, physical spaces themselves play a profound role in shaping our energy. Cluttered, disorganized, or chaotic spaces can induce stress and mental fatigue. Conversely, clean, organized, and aesthetically pleasing environments promote calm, focus, and inspiration. The principle is simple. Our external environment serves as a mirror for our internal state. By consciously designing spaces that nurture clarity and positivity, through decluttering, organizing, and incorporating elements of beauty and nature, we reinforce a mental and emotional landscape conducive to growth and well-being. Surrounding yourself with the right energy also involves the deliberate cultivation of relationships. Human beings are inherently social creatures, and the quality of our interactions profoundly impacts our internal state. Relationships characterized by support, empathy, and encouragement fuel our energy, while relationships marked by criticism, negativity, or manipulation drain it. It is essential to recognize the subtle energy dynamics within relationships. Who energizes you, who depletes you, and who reflects back your best self. By intentionally nurturing supportive, positive relationships and limiting exposure to energy-draining connections, we create a network of people that reinforce our highest potential. The concept of energy also extends to the habitual patterns and routines that define daily life. Energy is cumulative, and the habits we cultivate, our morning routines, work patterns, exercise, and leisure activities, either contribute to or detract from the energy we carry into each day. By consciously designing routines that include practices of mindfulness, gratitude, movement, and creativity, we build an energetic resilience that buffers against external stressors. These routines become the scaffolding for our well-being, ensuring that our energy remains aligned with our values, intentions, and goals. Mindfulness is a particularly powerful tool for energy management. By cultivating awareness of our internal and external environments, we can discern which energies serve us and which do not. Mindfulness allows us to observe our reactions to situations, people, and stimuli without being swept away by them. It creates a pause, a space in which choice becomes possible. In that pause, we can decide to absorb energy that nourishes us and release energy that harms us. The practice of mindfulness, therefore, is not passive. It is an active engagement with life's energetic currents. Consider the energy of media consumption. Every story we read, every video we watch, every post we scroll past contributes to the energy we carry into our day. Stories of resilience, hope, creativity, and connection can elevate our mood and inspire action. Conversely, stories of conflict, fear, or despair can weigh heavily on our emotional state. By curating the media we consume, we create a controlled energetic intake that supports our mental and emotional well-being. This requires discipline, awareness, and intentionality, choosing what aligns with our values and goals rather than succumbing to the default feed of negativity. The physical act of movement also influences energy. Exercise, whether a brisk walk in a park, a yoga session, or a simple stretching routine, shifts our internal energy, releasing tension and promoting mental clarity. Movement is not only beneficial for the body, it is a catalyst for mental and emotional alignment. Combining movement with mindfulness or gratitude practices amplifies the positive effects, creating a holistic reset that integrates body, mind, and spirit. Another dimension of surrounding yourself with the right energy involves creating moments of awe and inspiration. Exposure to natural beauty, art, music, or literature can dramatically influence the energetic state of the mind. These experiences expand perspective, evoke deep emotion, and reinforce the sense that life is abundant, meaningful, and rich with possibility. Whether it is walking along the cliffs of Big Sur, attending a live symphony in Chicago, or exploring a local museum in Philadelphia, intentional encounters with beauty and creativity feed the soul and elevate our energetic state. Finally, energy is profoundly influenced by self-directed thought, the internal dialogue we maintain, the narratives we tell ourselves, and the mental images we entertain shape our emotional landscape. Positive, constructive, and compassionate self-talk reinforces internal energy, while negative, critical, or fearful thought patterns deplete it. By practicing intentional thought management, through journaling, affirmations, meditation, or reflection, we cultivate an internal environment that aligns with the external energy we seek. This synergy between internal and external energy is essential for maintaining balance, resilience, and positivity in a world full of constant stimuli. One of the most transformative practices in managing the energy around you is the conscious selection of your social circles. The people you spend time with are, perhaps, the single most influential factor in shaping your mindset. Imagine a room filled with laughter, creativity, and curiosity. The energy is palpable, ideas flow freely, encouragement is abundant, and the air feels lighter. Now, imagine a room dominated by complaint, envy, and criticism. Even if the room is physically the same, the energy is completely different. The subtle shift in vibration affects how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. Choosing to surround yourself with positive, supportive people doesn't mean avoiding reality or ignoring conflict. It doesn't mean isolating yourself from honest feedback or difficult conversations. It means intentionally investing in relationships that nourish, uplift, and challenge you in ways that align with your growth. A friend who pushes you to be your best, a mentor who offers guidance without judgment, a partner who encourages your dreams. These are not just companions, they are energetic anchors that stabilize your internal state. Conversely, relationships that constantly drain energy can erode your sense of self over time. Subtle criticism, constant negativity, or an obsessive focus on the struggles of life can create a habitual mental loop in which you begin to mirror those energies. Over weeks and months, you may find yourself thinking more critically, feeling more anxious, or doubting your own capabilities, not because of your personal circumstances, but because of the energy you are absorbing. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward reclaiming your energetic sovereignty. A practical way to begin is by creating a relationship audit. Take a moment to reflect on the people you interact with most frequently. Consider how you feel after engaging with them. Are you energized, inspired, and motivated? Or do you feel drained, frustrated, and small? This reflection is not about labeling people as good or bad, but about recognizing the energetic impact they have on your life. With this awareness, you can make intentional choices about where to invest your time, energy, and presence. Beyond interpersonal relationships, the energy of your physical and virtual environment matters immensely. The spaces we inhabit daily, our homes, workplaces, and even the digital spaces we frequent, imprint energy onto our psyche. A cluttered, noisy, or chaotic environment creates cognitive load, increasing stress and reducing mental clarity. Conversely, clean, organized, and aesthetically pleasing spaces promote calm, focus, and well-being. Even small adjustments, like opening a window to let in natural light, placing a plant on your desk, or arranging objects to reduce visual chaos, can create an immediate shift in energetic resonance. The digital world is an especially critical area of focus. Constant exposure to notifications, social media, and news updates can overwhelm your mental filters and create a persistent state of hyper-alertness. This is why digital detox Sundays, a practice of intentionally unplugging from the digital realm, is so effective. During these periods, you allow your brain to rest from continuous external input. You create the space for reflection, for mindful observation, and for engaging with the world in a way that restores your energy rather than depletes it. During a digital detox Sunday, one might take a walk through a park, noticing the textures of the leaves, the sound of birds, the movement of the wind. Every step becomes a meditation, a conscious reconnection with the physical world. Without the interference of screens and notifications, the mind begins to recalibrate, returning to a baseline state of balance and attentiveness. Over time, these regular practices of disengagement strengthen neural pathways associated with mindfulness, patience, and emotional regulation, effectively reinforcing the quality of energy we carry forward into the week. The way we consume media on non-detox days is equally critical. Constant exposure to sensationalized headlines, polarizing commentary, or emotionally charged content can skew our perception of reality. While it is important to stay informed, selective consumption, choosing sources that are credible, balanced, and constructive, protects our mental energy. Similarly, engaging with content that inspires curiosity, creativity, or learning nourishes the mind and supports a positive energetic framework. In essence, the energy we allow into our consciousness shapes not only our mood, but also our decisions, behaviors, and capacity for resilience. Another vital element of energy management is intentional solitude. Time spent alone is often undervalued, yet it provides a unique opportunity to reset internal energy and align with personal intentions. Solitude allows reflection, creativity, and mental reorganization. Without the noise of external opinions, obligations, and stimuli, you can access a deeper state of awareness, clarifying what energizes you and what drains you. Practices such as journaling, meditative reflection, or simply sitting in nature cultivate internal harmony, ensuring that the energy you project into the world is balanced and authentic. The synergy between internal and external energy is crucial. While we can curate our external environment through relationships, spaces, and media, we must simultaneously cultivate internal energy through mental practices. Mindfulness, gratitude, and intentional thought management form the foundation of internal energy. Each thought, intention, or emotion either strengthens or depletes our energetic reservoir. By consciously nurturing positive internal states, we create a protective buffer against external negativity. Over time, this internal strength allows us to thrive even in challenging circumstances, maintaining clarity, creativity, and resilience. It is also important to acknowledge the role of physical energy in shaping mental and emotional states. Nutrition, exercise, and rest are not merely health recommendations. They are energetic practices. Proper nourishment fuels the body and mind. Physical activity releases tension and elevates mood. And adequate sleep restores both mental clarity and emotional stability. The interplay between physical, mental, and environmental energy is intricate. Neglect in one area inevitably affects the others. By attending to all aspects of energy, social, digital, physical, and internal, we create a holistic framework that supports sustained well-being. Energy management also extends to daily rituals and habits. The habits we cultivate, from morning routines to evening reflections, create a repetitive energetic pattern that shapes our responses to life. Starting the day with a positive intention, a short meditation, or mindful movement sets a baseline of energetic alignment that carries through subsequent tasks and interactions. Ending the day with reflection, gratitude, or journaling reinforces a sense of completion and renewal. These intentional rituals act as energetic scaffolding, supporting our ability to maintain equilibrium, focus, and positivity throughout the day. In practical terms, surrounding yourself with the right energy may involve a combination of strategies: curating social interactions, managing media intake, designing physical spaces, practicing digital detox, cultivating internal mental practices, maintaining physical health, and embedding positive rituals into your daily schedule. Each element reinforces the others, creating a comprehensive system that nurtures energy rather than depletes it. The result is a life in which your mind, body, and spirit are aligned with constructive, nourishing energy, capable of responding to life's challenges with resilience and creativity. The energy we cultivate also has ripple effects beyond ourselves. When we radiate positivity, resilience, and clarity, we influence the energy of those around us. Families, workplaces, communities. Each of these systems is sensitive to the energy individuals contribute. By maintaining high-quality energy, we contribute to an ecosystem of positivity that not only benefits ourselves, but also uplifts others. In this sense, energy management is both a personal and collective responsibility. Stories from everyday life illustrate this principle vividly. Consider a teacher in Philadelphia who consistently enters the classroom with a sense of calm, curiosity, and encouragement. The energy they bring to the room shapes the learning environment profoundly. Students respond to the positivity, engagement, and presence of the teacher, creating a dynamic in which learning becomes collaborative, joyful, and resilient. Conversely, a teacher who enters the room tense, frustrated, or emotionally drained creates an environment of stress and disengagement. The same principles apply to leaders, parents, friends, and colleagues. Our energy directly impacts the quality of interactions and outcomes around us. Finally, surrounding yourself with the right energy is a practice of self-respect and personal sovereignty. It is an acknowledgement that your time, attention, and presence are valuable, and that protecting your energy is not selfish. It is essential. It requires conscious decision-making, intentional boundaries, and the courage to prioritize environments, habits, and relationships that align with your highest well-being. In doing so, you cultivate an energetic ecosystem that supports growth, joy, creativity, and resilience. Another crucial aspect of surrounding yourself with the right energy is the intentional cultivation of spaces that inspire and rejuvenate your mind and spirit. Physical environments are far more than mere backdrops to our lives. They are dynamic influences on our thoughts, moods, and energy levels. When we inhabit spaces filled with chaos, clutter, or disarray, our minds are subconsciously reminded of disorder and instability, which can generate stress, anxiety, and distraction. In contrast, environments that reflect order, aesthetic harmony, and beauty foster clarity, focus, and a sense of calm. Consider the experience of walking into a studio apartment in downtown San Diego. The space is filled with light, organized furniture, and subtle touches of nature, plants in sunlit corners, artwork that evokes joy, and open surfaces that invite movement and clarity. The very act of entering the space creates a shift in the mind. Thoughts become less cluttered, breathing slows, and the body relaxes. By designing our spaces to align with positive energy, we set the stage for mental and emotional alignment, creating a supportive environment for the practices and habits we wish to cultivate. Curating physical spaces does not require luxury or excess. Simple adjustments like decluttering surfaces, adding a source of natural light, introducing living plants, or incorporating a few items of personal inspiration can dramatically shift the energy of a room. Even the colors you surround yourself with impact mood and focus. Cool tones can induce calm, while vibrant tones can energize creativity. When every space we occupy is intentionally aligned with nurturing energy, the mind can remain stable, resilient, and open to positive input. Beyond physical environments, the energy we absorb through auditory and visual stimuli is equally influential. Music, for example, is a direct conduit to emotional states. Listening to music that uplifts, motivates, or soothes can create a shift in internal energy, promoting optimism, focus, or relaxation depending on the desired effect. Visual media, including films, photographs, and artwork, carries similar power. The stories and imagery we allow into our consciousness shape perception, mood, and energetic state. By consciously selecting media that reinforces desired emotional states and values, we reinforce internal energy alignment. The social dimension is equally powerful. Our interactions with others are more than mere exchanges of words. They are exchanges of energy. Conversations steeped in gossip, complaint, or fear have a draining effect, often creating invisible weight that lingers long after the interaction ends. Conversely, conversations centered on collaboration, empathy, and encouragement generate an energetic uplift that can inspire creativity, motivation, and confidence. Recognizing the energetic content of our interactions allows us to choose relationships that are mutually nourishing rather than draining. Practical steps for cultivating supportive social energy include setting boundaries, curating friend circles, and consciously choosing collaborative over competitive environments. Boundaries are essential. They ensure that your energy is not siphoned by persistent negativity. By politely limiting interactions with individuals who consistently drain your energy, you create room for supportive and inspiring relationships. Likewise, consciously seeking communities of shared values, vision, and positivity amplifies the energy that surrounds you. Whether it is a book club, a meditation group, or a creative circle, communities aligned with positive energy reinforce your own energetic state, even in unavoidable environments where negative energy may be present, such as workplaces, schools, or public spaces. Mindful strategies can protect and elevate your energy. Practices such as setting clear mental intentions, visualizing protective energy boundaries, and focusing on neutral or positive aspects of the environment can buffer the influence of external negativity. Over time, these practices build resilience, enabling you to navigate challenging environments without compromising your internal energy. An illustrative example comes from a local co-working space in Seattle. Individuals at the same location report vastly different experiences depending on their engagement with energy. One person, immersed in gossip and comparison, experiences stress, distraction, and low motivation. Another, consciously choosing to focus on collaboration, shared learning, and supportive interactions, experiences inspiration, clarity, and productivity. The space itself is neutral. The difference arises entirely from the energy they cultivate and allow to influence them. Digital spaces, in particular, present a unique challenge in energy management. The modern digital landscape offers unprecedented access to information, connection, and opportunity, but it also exposes us to constant negativity, judgment, and comparison. Social media algorithms amplify content that provokes strong emotional reactions, often prioritizing outrage over insight. Without conscious engagement, we can become immersed in cycles of emotional highs and lows, drained by content that neither serves nor inspires. Implementing practices like the Digital Detox Sunday helps create a buffer against digital overstimulation. Beyond the detox, daily intentionality in digital consumption is essential. Curate feeds to follow inspiring voices, educational content, and authentic storytelling. Limit exposure to contentious or fear-driven material. Just as a balanced diet nourishes the body, a balanced informational diet nourishes the mind, aligning energy with growth, clarity, and resilience. Physical movement is another avenue for cultivating energy. Regular exercise, whether a brisk walk, yoga session, or strength training, aligns the body, mind, and energy. Physical activity releases tension, elevates mood, and restores balance to energy systems. Combining movement with mindfulness, such as walking in nature with full attention to sensory experiences, amplifies these effects. Gratitude walks, where individuals consciously acknowledge aspects of life they appreciate, merge physical movement with mental alignment, reinforcing positive energy both internally and externally. It is also critical to recognize that energy flows in cycles. Just as physical energy fluctuates, so too does mental and emotional energy. Awareness of these natural rhythms allows for intentional adjustment. Some moments call for rest, reflection, and introspection. Others for engagement, action, and creativity. By attuning to these cycles, we optimize the energy available to us, ensuring that we act and respond in ways aligned with peak energetic states. Rituals and habits reinforce the energetic environment. Simple practices, consistently applied, create neural patterns that shape daily perception and emotional responses. Morning routines that include meditation, mindful breathing, or intention setting establish a positive energetic baseline. Evening reflections that incorporate gratitude, journaling, or mindful review reinforce positive energy patterns and recalibrate mental and emotional states for rest. Over time, these habitual engagements shape a life lived with intentional energy alignment rather than passive reaction to circumstance. The cumulative effect of surrounding yourself with the right energy is profound. Life is inherently unpredictable, filled with challenges, conflicts, and stressors. Without intentional energy management, these external forces dictate mental, emotional, and behavioral outcomes. With intentional management, we reclaim sovereignty over our internal state, allowing for measured, constructive responses to adversity. Energy becomes both shield and compass, guiding decision-making, cultivating resilience, and enhancing capacity for joy and fulfillment. Finally, surrounding yourself with the right energy is also a matter of personal responsibility and integrity. It is an acknowledgement that your attention, presence, and mind are sacred resources. Protecting and nurturing these resources is not selfish. It is essential to living a life of purpose, clarity, and aligned action. By curating environments, relationships, habits, and experiences that support positive energy, we create a life in which our mental and emotional states are conducive to growth, creativity, and meaningful connection. Beyond physical spaces, digital detox, and relationships, the energy we surround ourselves with also deeply affects our creativity, problem-solving, and capacity for joy. Consider an artist in Austin, sitting in a small sunlit studio filled with canvases and brushes. The walls are decorated with inspiration, quotes, photos, and sketches. Each object, each visual cue, contributes to a mental environment of possibility. The artist can paint freely, explore ideas, and immerse themselves in flow, simply because the energy of the environment supports their focus and imagination. Contrast this with a cluttered, noisy, or tense space, where every distraction pulls the mind away from creative engagement. The difference is subtle but profound. Energy shapes not just how we feel, but how we think, how we imagine, and how we create. This principle applies to anyone, not just artists. A software developer in Chicago who codes in a noisy, unorganized office may struggle to focus, make mistakes, and feel stressed. Meanwhile, a developer in a clean, organized, and calm space finds that their cognitive clarity improves, solutions come more naturally, and stress diminishes. The environment is not passive. It actively interacts with the mind, reinforcing either distraction or focus, stress or ease. Energy also profoundly influences our perception of time and priorities. When surrounded by positive energy, time seems more expansive, and we notice subtleties and opportunities we might otherwise overlook. When surrounded by negative energy, time feels compressed, life becomes urgent, and small joys go unnoticed. For instance, a manager in New York City may feel overwhelmed by constant crises and conflicts in their work environment. Stressful meetings, Urgent emails and tense team dynamics compress their perception of time, making it hard to think strategically or enjoy small victories. By intentionally cultivating positive energy through supportive colleagues, structured spaces, and intentional breaks, they can regain perspective, expand focus, and see opportunities for innovation and collaboration. Energy is also contagious. In a workplace, a single individual with high energy, optimism, and resilience can uplift an entire team. Conversely, one person dominated by negativity, fear, or doubt can sap the collective energy of a group. This is why intentional energy management is not just an individual practice, it is a leadership strategy. Leaders who manage their energy effectively create environments in which teams thrive, creativity flourishes, and stress diminishes. By curating your own energy, you also influence the energy of those around you. The principle of energy management extends to micro habits and rituals that shape daily life. Starting the day with intention, through meditation, affirmations, or light exercise, creates an internal energetic baseline that carries forward into every interaction. Ending the day with reflection, journaling, or gratitude ensures that accumulated stress does not dominate mental space overnight. Over time, these micro-practices become automatic, forming the foundation for sustained energy balance. A concrete practice to integrate this is the energy journal. Each day, take a few minutes to record how certain environments, people, or activities affected your energy. Note moments of uplift and moments of drain. Over time, patterns will emerge, guiding conscious choices about where to spend time, who to interact with, and what activities to prioritize. The act of reflection itself cultivates mindfulness and strengthens the ability to regulate energy. Consider an example from a bustling cafe in San Francisco. Two patrons sit at adjacent tables. One is absorbed in reading positive news and journaling reflections. The other scrolls endlessly through social media, exposed to distressing headlines and divisive commentary. By the time they leave, the first patron feels energized, focused, and calm. The second patron leaves stressed, distracted, and anxious. The environment was the same, yet the internal energy shift is entirely determined by conscious choice and engagement with stimuli. Energy management is also about intentional focus. What you choose to notice amplifies its impact. If you consistently focus on what's missing, negative, or imperfect, energy is directed toward reinforcing dissatisfaction. If you consistently focus on growth, gratitude, and possibility, energy strengthens optimism and resilience. This is why practices like mindful observation, gratitude exercises, and reframing challenges are essential. They actively guide energy in constructive directions. In addition, nature is one of the most powerful tools for positive energy cultivation. Walking in a park, sitting by a river, or observing the ocean allows the mind to reset, reduces cortisol, and elevates mood. Studies have shown that even brief exposure to natural environments increases positive effect, cognitive performance, and resilience. Integrating time and nature into your routine, especially in combination with reflection, mindful observation, or movement, amplifies the effect of energy cultivation. Physical movement remains central. Walking, stretching, yoga, or more vigorous exercise releases tension, aligns body and mind, and elevates energetic resonance. The practice of walking, particularly, can become a meditative experience when attention is directed toward sensory observation and gratitude. Steps become a rhythm that harmonizes internal energy, while conscious focus on breath, movement, and surroundings anchors presence. Combining this with intentional mental practices, affirmations, visualization, gratitude reflection, creates a holistic energetic reset. It's also vital to recognize that energy depletion often comes from misaligned priorities. When we spend time and attention on tasks, people, or activities that do not serve our highest intentions, energy is lost. Regular reflection, planning, and realignment help ensure that daily choices are consistent with goals, values, and desired emotional states. This conscious alignment prevents chronic energetic drain and fosters sustainable focus, motivation, and emotional well-being. Community and collective energy also play a role. Being part of groups where positivity, growth, and creativity are emphasized can reinforce internal energy states. Community involvement, volunteering, or participating in group activities creates shared energetic resonance, boosting morale and resilience. Even small, intentional contributions to others, acts of kindness, mentorship, or support, generate positive energy that circulates back, enhancing both individual and collective well-being. Finally, surrounding yourself with the right energy is an ongoing, intentional, and holistic practice. It requires awareness, evaluation, and deliberate action in multiple domains: physical environment, social relationships, digital engagement, personal rituals, and alignment of priorities. By consciously designing your energetic ecosystem, you protect and cultivate the energy necessary for clarity, focus, creativity, and emotional balance. This practice is not passive, it is active, requiring consistent attention and reinforcement. Yet the rewards are profound. A life lived with intention, vitality, and resilience, in which challenges are navigated with composure and joy, is abundant even amidst adversity. Another critical dimension of surrounding yourself with the right energy is intentional engagement with the rhythms of life. Just as a musician follows the tempo of a composition, our energy flows in cycles throughout the day, week, and year. Understanding and aligning with these natural rhythms amplifies our ability to maintain positive energy. Morning energy may be best suited for focused work or creative exploration, while evenings may be ideal for reflection, connection, or rest. By observing and honoring these natural fluctuations, we align our actions with our internal energy, reducing friction and maximizing productivity and emotional balance. Consider the impact of morning routines. A mindful morning, beginning with deep breathing, reflection, gratitude, or light movement, establishes an energetic baseline for the day. The body is primed, the mind is centered, and the heart is receptive. Conversely, rushing into the day, immediately engaging with stressful emails, or consuming negative media primes the brain for reactive and depleted energy patterns. The energy we carry from morning into the day cascades through our interactions, decisions, and perceptions. By intentionally designing morning practices, we set the tone for the rest of the day, reinforcing alignment with positive energy. Energy management also involves conscious handling of challenges and conflicts. Life inevitably presents situations that test our patience, resilience, and focus. How we respond to these challenges directly affects the energy we maintain and emit. Approaching difficulties with curiosity, reframing obstacles as opportunities for growth, and practicing mindfulness amidst chaos transforms potentially draining situations into sources of empowerment. For example, a manager navigating a high-pressure project can choose to respond with stress and frustration, amplifying negative energy, or with composure, focus, and problem-solving, generating constructive energy that uplifts the team. Travel and exposure to new environments are additional methods to shape and enhance energy. Experiencing unfamiliar cultures, landscapes, and perspectives encourages flexibility, curiosity, and openness, qualities that cultivate positive energy. A weekend in the mountains, observing the natural rhythms of wildlife and the movement of clouds, can reset mental patterns, inspire awe, and replenish internal energy. Similarly, visiting art galleries or museums offers an immersive experience that enriches perspective, stimulates creativity, and elevates emotional resonance. Engaging with the world in these intentional ways fosters energy that aligns with growth, wonder, and positivity. Journaling is another powerful tool for energy cultivation. By reflecting on daily experiences, noting moments of inspiration, success, gratitude, and learning, we actively reinforce positive energy patterns. Journaling serves as both a mirror and a map. It allows us to see where energy has been spent, where it has been lost, and where it has been gained. Over time, this practice builds self-awareness, helps identify energy-draining patterns, and encourages deliberate choices that enhance well-being. Mindful social interactions are equally critical. In group settings, whether at work, in social gatherings, or in family contexts, energy is collectively created. By maintaining awareness of personal energy contributions, one can actively influence group dynamics. Positive reinforcement, constructive communication, and empathetic engagement generate a collective energy field conducive to collaboration, innovation, and emotional safety. Conversely, engagement characterized by negativity, criticism, or judgment contributes to energy depletion and tension. Recognizing and choosing how we contribute to these dynamics is a central component of surrounding oneself with the right energy. Physical health practices are inseparable from energy management. Nutrition, sleep, and movement collectively influence energetic capacity. Nutrient-rich food provides the fuel necessary for sustained mental and physical energy, while adequate sleep restores cognitive function and emotional regulation. Movement, whether structured exercise or mindful walking, releases tension, improves circulation, and elevates mood. The interplay between physical and emotional energy underscores the holistic nature of energy management. Neglect in one domain invariably affects the others. Breathing practices, meditation, and visualization techniques further enhance energy regulation. Deep, conscious breathing increases oxygenation, reduces stress responses, and establishes a calm baseline for thought and action. Meditation cultivates awareness of internal states, allowing individuals to observe and modulate energy fluctuations. Visualization exercises, imagining desired outcomes, positive interactions, or healing processes, serve as energetic primers, aligning internal states with intentions and reinforcing constructive energetic patterns. Creating rituals around energy renewal solidifies these practices. Simple daily rituals, morning reflections, midday mindfulness pauses, evening gratitude review, establish predictable energy reinforcement. Over time, these rituals become automatic, creating sustained energetic alignment that buffers against daily stressors and challenges. Collective rituals, such as shared team reflections, group meditations, or communal gratitude exercises, amplify energy through social reinforcement, enhancing both individual and communal well-being. The concept of energy hygiene emerges as a synthesis of these practices. Just as personal hygiene maintains physical health, energy hygiene maintains mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Regular assessment of physical environment, social interactions, media consumption, daily routines, and internal dialogue ensures that energy remains constructive rather than depleting. Practices such as decluttering, setting boundaries, engaging in reflective journaling, and scheduling digital detoxes constitute essential components of this energetic maintenance. Stories of transformation abound in those who intentionally curate their energy. Consider an entrepreneur in Los Angeles overwhelmed by the pressures of a startup. Initially, the chaotic energy of constant demands, negative feedback, and competitive stress threatened to deplete their resilience. By restructuring their workspace, engaging in morning mindfulness practices, limiting exposure to negative online content, and surrounding themselves with supportive colleagues and mentors, the entrepreneur gradually reclaimed energy. Productivity, creativity, and emotional balance improved, demonstrating the tangible impact of intentional energy management on life outcomes. Energy management is also foundational to resilience in adversity. Life presents unavoidable stressors, health challenges, relationship conflicts, career obstacles. The energy we cultivate and protect determines our capacity to respond constructively. Those who intentionally cultivate supportive physical, social, and digital environments, coupled with internal practices such as mindfulness, reflection, and gratitude, demonstrate higher resilience, adaptability, and emotional stability. Energy, therefore, is not simply a passive attribute. It is a foundational determinant of life outcomes. Finally, surrounding oneself with the right energy is both an art and a science. It requires awareness, intentionality, and consistent practice across multiple dimensions: physical spaces, social interactions, digital engagement, routines, internal states, and personal habits. It is a comprehensive approach to living that acknowledges the profound influence of energy on perception, behavior, and emotional well-being. By deliberately curating the energy that surrounds and permeates our lives, we create the conditions for sustained growth, joy, clarity, and resilience. The cumulative effect of these practices, environmental curation, digital detox, social alignment, physical health, mindfulness, and reflective rituals, creates a life lived with intention, purpose, and balance. Energy becomes a tangible resource that we manage, nurture, and direct, enabling us to navigate life's challenges with focus, presence, and emotional equilibrium. In mastering the art of surrounding oneself with the right energy, we cultivate not only personal well-being, but also a positive influence on the communities and environments we touch. Energy is not only influenced by what we consume, but also by the intentions we carry. Every thought, action, and choice projects energy into our surroundings, and this projected energy affects not only ourselves, but also the people and spaces we interact with. When we act with clarity, purpose, and mindfulness, we radiate energy that attracts positivity, collaboration, and support. Conversely, reactive, scattered, or negative intentions generate turbulence that disrupts harmony and drains vitality. Consider the experience of walking into a coworking space in Manhattan. Two teams occupy the same room. One team starts the morning meeting with tension, frustration, and criticism. The other begins with focus, acknowledgement of accomplishments, and constructive dialogue. The room's energy shifts depending on which team's tone dominates. Individuals react unconsciously to the ambient energy. Creativity, focus, and engagement rise in a positive environment, while anxiety, distraction, and self-doubt grow in a negative one. The lesson is clear. Energy is both absorbed and transmitted, creating a feedback loop that amplifies the environment's influence. One practical strategy to manage this is the concept of energetic alignment, where you assess your own intentions before engaging in any space or interaction. Ask yourself, what energy am I bringing? Am I focused, calm, and constructive, or reactive, stressed, and depleted? By consciously aligning your energy with the desired outcome, you enhance not only your own effectiveness, but also the energetic quality of the environment around you. Digital spaces remain particularly potent arenas for energy transmission. Social media, messaging apps, and email serve as conduits of energy. The messages we send and the content we engage with shape both our inner state and the state of others. Responding to negativity with reflection, choosing content that uplifts, and limiting exposure to draining interactions ensures that your digital environment supports your energetic intentions. For example, taking the time to reply thoughtfully to a colleague or friend in distress sends constructive energy that enhances relationships while reinforcing your own emotional alignment. Physical activity is another essential vector for cultivating energy. Movement not only strengthens the body, but also regulates emotional and mental states. Practices like yoga, tai chi, or mindful walking integrate breath, focus, and motion, generating sustained energy that can be directed intentionally throughout the day. Gratitude walks, in particular, combine movement with reflective mental focus, amplifying the energy of appreciation and presence. Each step becomes a micro-meditation, reinforcing the alignment of mind, body, and environment. Breathing practices play a central role as well. Conscious breathing, whether through diaphragmatic exercises, alternate nostril breathing, or simple deep inhalation, regulates the nervous system, reduces stress, and creates a foundation for positive energy flow. Integrating breathwork into daily routines ensures a baseline energetic state conducive to clarity, emotional stability, and mindful engagement. Another potent strategy is the cultivation of aesthetic environments. Art, music, and natural elements have profound effects on energy. Surrounding yourself with objects that inspire, uplift, and evoke beauty enhances internal energy. A painting that evokes serenity, a photograph capturing the majesty of a mountain range, or the sound of a flowing river or gentle music can recalibrate mental and emotional states. Creating spaces with intentional aesthetic design, through lighting, color, arrangement, and decor, aligns environmental energy with the state you wish to cultivate internally. The principle of energy hygiene also applies to language. The words we speak, both to ourselves and others, carry energy. Speaking with intention, kindness, and clarity ensures that our verbal energy supports growth and connection. Avoiding gossip, criticism, or fear-driven speech preserves positive energy, while encouraging, affirming, and collaborative language generates constructive energy that sustains well-being. Reflective journaling is another cornerstone of energetic management. By recording your experiences, thoughts, and emotional responses, you gain awareness of energy patterns and triggers. Noting moments that energize or deplete allows you to make informed choices about environments, interactions, and habits. Journaling becomes both a diagnostic and therapeutic tool, strengthening the conscious management of energy. In addition, incorporating nature into daily life amplifies energetic alignment. Exposure to natural environments, even briefly, enhances mood, reduces stress, and restores cognitive function. Activities such as forest walks, gardening, or sitting by water bodies provide sensory input that recalibrates internal energy. Nature offers rhythms, colors, and patterns that resonate deeply with human physiology, creating an energetic equilibrium that is difficult to achieve in artificial or chaotic settings. Intentionality in planning routines is also vital. Mapping your day around periods of high energy and low energy, aligning tasks with natural cognitive cycles, and scheduling restorative breaks creates a sustainable energetic framework. Morning hours can be reserved for high-focus work, midday for social interactions or movement, and evenings for reflection and calm. This rhythm honors both internal energy and environmental influences, ensuring that each interaction and activity occurs under optimal energetic conditions. Finally, community involvement serves as an amplifier of positive energy. Participating in volunteer work, group activities, or collaborative projects allows for energetic resonance and reciprocity. When multiple individuals align in intention, focus, and action, the cumulative energy creates outcomes far exceeding what could be achieved individually. Energy, in this sense, is not merely a personal resource, it is collective, extending beyond individual control and amplified through collaboration and shared purpose. By integrating these practices, intentional social engagement, environmental curation, digital detox, mindful routines, movement, breathwork, aesthetic enrichment, reflective journaling, connection with nature, and community involvement, you create a comprehensive system of energy management. Each layer reinforces the others, establishing a resilient energetic foundation that supports clarity, creativity, emotional balance, and well-being. The cumulative effect of these strategies is profound. Life does not become easier or free from challenges, but the capacity to respond effectively, to maintain presence, and to generate positive impact becomes greatly enhanced. Individuals who master energetic alignment report higher resilience, greater satisfaction, and deeper connections with others and themselves. Energy management, therefore, is not merely a practice for comfort. It is a fundamental determinant of life quality, shaping perception, cognition, emotional regulation, and social outcomes. Another layer of surrounding yourself with the right energy involves the practice of intentional mental framing. Just as the physical and social environment shapes energy, the narratives we tell ourselves about life events carry immense energetic weight. How we interpret setbacks, achievements, and interactions directly influences our internal energy, and by extension, how we influence the world. This is where reframing and energetic awareness intersect. By consciously choosing interpretations that are constructive rather than destructive, we maintain a higher quality energy state. Take, for example, a situation that is familiar to many, receiving criticism at work. The immediate reaction is often defensive, perhaps anger, shame, or frustration surfaces. If allowed to dominate, this reaction shapes energy negatively, reinforcing stress and tension throughout the day. However, with intentional energetic awareness, the same criticism can be reframed as an opportunity for growth. One can ask, what is the useful feedback here? How can this help me improve or see a blind spot? This reframing shifts the energy from defensive and depleting to curious, empowered, and constructive. A story from a small tech startup in San Francisco illustrates this principle. A developer received critical feedback during a product review. Initially, frustration and self-doubt arose. Instead of reacting impulsively, she paused, took a few deep breaths, and reflected on the feedback through a lens of growth. She asked herself what she could learn and how she could improve. The energy shifted immediately, from tension and defensiveness to clarity and focus. The result: not only did her performance improve, but her relationships with colleagues strengthened because she contributed a calm, receptive, and solution-oriented energy to the team. In addition to mental framing, physical micro-practices can reinforce positive energy throughout the day. Short pauses for deep breathing, a brief walk outside, or a few minutes of meditation can reset internal energy before it becomes depleted. These micro-practices serve as anchors, allowing consistent recalibration even in high-stress environments. Over time, these small interventions compound, resulting in a sustained capacity to maintain energetic alignment throughout the day. Another powerful strategy is cultivating energy through creativity. Engaging in creative expression, whether painting, writing, music, or problem-solving, activates unique cognitive and emotional pathways that generate positive internal energy. Creativity is inherently expansive. It stretches perception, encourages curiosity, and connects us to a sense of purpose. For example, a musician practicing in a studio in Austin reports feeling renewed energy after a single session, even when the day began with stress and fatigue. Similarly, a writer journaling reflections in Boston finds clarity and calm emerge through the act of expression. Creative practices are thus both restorative and generative, enhancing energy that carries into all aspects of life. Energy also flows through intentional connection with others. Relationships function as conduits of energy exchange. The quality of engagement determines whether energy is elevated or depleted. Practices such as active listening, empathetic communication, and offering support without expectation create positive energetic resonance. A conversation in which both parties feel seen, heard, and valued generates a mutually reinforcing uplift, whereas conversation dominated by judgment or complaint depletes energy on both sides. Awareness of this dynamic allows for conscious choice in the energy we bring and absorb in every interaction. One reflective exercise to strengthen awareness is called energy mapping. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on the people, spaces, and activities you engaged with. Identify moments that were energizing versus draining. Note patterns and consider what actions could optimize energy in future interactions. This process cultivates a deep understanding of how external and internal factors interact to shape daily energy, reinforcing conscious management and intentionality. Nature remains an unparalleled source of positive energy. Research consistently demonstrates that exposure to natural environments reduces stress, enhances cognitive function, and elevates mood. Walking in a forest, observing ocean waves, or simply sitting in a park allows for sensory immersion that recalibrates internal energy. Integrating nature into daily routines, even in brief intervals, creates a consistent flow of restorative energy that supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and physical vitality. Energy management also includes the practice of energetic decluttering. This involves consciously releasing negative thoughts, limiting exposure to draining media, and disengaging from unproductive or toxic interactions. Just as physical clutter creates stress, mental and emotional clutter can sap energy. Practices such as journaling, meditation, and reflective breathing help identify and release these energetic blockages. Over time, this creates a clear, unobstructed flow of energy that allows for enhanced focus, creativity, and emotional equilibrium. Intentional rituals around energy cultivation are essential for long-term alignment. Morning rituals might include mindful breathing, meditation, movement, and intention setting. Midday pauses can reset energy, such as a brief walk outside or a reflection on positive experiences. Evening routines may include journaling, gratitude practice, and intentional rest. These rituals create predictable energetic scaffolding, supporting consistent performance, mental clarity, and emotional stability. Energy is cumulative. Small choices made repeatedly compound over time. Choosing to absorb positive energy, generate constructive energy, and release depleting energy daily creates a feedback loop that reinforces resilience, creativity, and emotional balance. This principle applies across domains: personal, professional, and communal. Leaders, parents, educators, and creatives who consciously manage their energy see amplified impact in their effectiveness, satisfaction, and influence. A final dimension of energy alignment involves integrating reflection and gratitude. Pausing to acknowledge what is working, what is beautiful, and what nourishes your well-being reinforces positive energy. Gratitude walks, journaling, and mindful observation of nature serve as practices that anchor energy in awareness, appreciation, and presence. By combining these with intentional management of social, digital, and physical environments, we create a holistic system of energy cultivation. Stories from everyday life demonstrate the tangible effects of energetic alignment. A teacher in Philadelphia, despite high-stress classroom conditions, intentionally designs a calm, organized classroom, cultivates supportive relationships with students and colleagues, and begins the day with mindfulness practices. Over time, not only does the teacher's personal energy improve, but the collective energy of the classroom shifts. Engagement, focus, and collaboration increase, and student outcomes improve. Similarly, a business owner in San Francisco restructures office layouts, limits exposure to negative media, and implements digital detox practices. Staff morale and productivity increase, and the overall energy of the workspace becomes conducive to creativity and growth. Energy management is both an individual and collective practice. By intentionally shaping personal, social, and environmental energy, we influence the quality of life for ourselves and those around us. We move from reactive, passive engagement with life's circumstances to proactive, intentional curation of energy. This alignment enhances mental clarity, emotional resilience, creativity, and social harmony, creating a foundation for fulfillment and sustainable success. To fully understand the power of surrounding yourself with the right energy, we must recognize that the energy we project is directly related to the energy we are willing to receive. This concept of reciprocal energy exchange is vital because it reinforces the idea that we are not passive recipients of energy. We are active participants in shaping the world around us. Just as we can absorb positive energy from others, we also have the power to influence the energy of our environment, making it conducive to growth, creativity, and connection. This dynamic plays out regularly in the workplace. Imagine a scenario where a team in a large company is facing a critical deadline. The energy in the room is tense, filled with anxiety and uncertainty. One member of the team, however, remains calm and composed, offering solutions and encouragement. This individual's energy is like a lighthouse in the storm, providing a steadying influence for the rest of the team. Slowly, others begin to shift their focus, moving away from the stress and toward problem solving. The energy of the room shifts from anxiety to cooperation, from panic to clarity. What once felt like an insurmountable challenge becomes an opportunity for collective creativity and collaboration. This shift in energy didn't happen by accident. It occurred because one person chose to project calmness and positivity, and in doing so, created a ripple effect that changed the environment for everyone. This story exemplifies a fundamental truth. When we manage our energy, we are not only taking care of ourselves but also positively influencing those around us. It's a reminder that energy is contagious. Whether it's a workplace, a social gathering, or a family setting, our emotional states ripple outward, affecting the collective energy. The energy we create internally has the potential to transform the external environment. This is particularly evident in leadership. A leader who radiates positive energy, whether through confidence, empathy, or a clear sense of purpose, can uplift an entire organization. Conversely, a leader who is disconnected, reactive, or steeped in negativity can quickly create an environment where stress, disengagement, and low morale become the norm. Leadership is not just about making decisions. It's about cultivating an energetic environment that fosters collaboration, trust, and innovation. When leaders prioritize energy management, they create the conditions for growth and success, not just for themselves but for everyone they lead. The same principle applies to social settings. When you walk into a room, what kind of energy do you bring? Are you projecting a calm, open energy that invites connection? Or do you bring tension, frustration, or indifference? The energy we radiate directly influences how we are received and how we connect with others. Being mindful of the energy we project allows us to foster deeper, more authentic connections. It's a practice that requires self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and the willingness to shift our mindset when necessary. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate positive energy is by practicing gratitude in relationships. When you express genuine appreciation for the people around you, whether for their kindness, their contributions, or their presence, you reinforce positive energy. This practice of verbalizing gratitude not only strengthens your bonds with others, but also creates a positive feedback loop. As you acknowledge the goodness in those around you, you begin to see even more of it. Gratitude becomes a magnifying lens, allowing us to focus on the positive and let go of the negative. Take the example of a close-knit group of friends. If one person consistently expresses appreciation and acknowledgement for the group, it shifts the dynamic. Others begin to mirror that gratitude, creating a space where positivity and support flourish. This energetic shift strengthens the bond between friends, deepens trust, and fosters an environment where everyone feels valued and seen. Gratitude, in this sense, becomes the currency of positive energy. But even in relationships where negativity exists, whether due to conflict, misunderstanding, or differing values, gratitude can serve as a bridge. By focusing on the positive aspects of the relationship, you can shift the narrative from one of resentment to one of appreciation. If a relationship is difficult, focusing on moments of kindness, shared experiences, or common goals can transform the energy surrounding the interaction. Gratitude allows us to see the good, even in challenging situations, and to reframe our perception of others and ourselves. An important extension of energy management is recognizing and eliminating toxic influences. Sometimes, the energy we absorb is not uplifting, constructive, or nurturing. It can be draining, toxic, and destabilizing. Toxic relationships, whether with individuals who are overly critical, manipulative, or emotionally draining, can have a profound impact on our energetic state. This impact can range from stress, self-doubt, and emotional depletion to a diminished sense of self-worth. Recognizing toxic energy is the first step in protecting yourself from its effects. It's essential to establish boundaries with individuals who consistently undermine your energy. This doesn't mean cutting people off entirely, but rather asserting the limits of what you are willing to tolerate. Setting clear boundaries, whether through limiting contact, redefining expectations, or expressing your needs directly, creates the space necessary for healthier interactions. It's also essential to recognize the difference between healthy conflict and toxic behavior. Disagreements and differences of opinion are natural in any relationship, but how we handle them determines the energetic outcome. Healthy conflict allows for growth and resolution, while toxic conflict tends to escalate, creating division and resentment. Learning to engage in conflict with respect, empathy, and a willingness to listen transforms what could be a draining experience into one that fosters understanding and connection. One of the most powerful tools for managing energy is the practice of mindful self-talk. The inner dialogue we maintain shapes our perception of ourselves and the world around us. Negative self-talk, criticism, self-doubt, and harsh judgments drains energy, perpetuating feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and fear. Positive self-talk, on the other hand, builds confidence, clarity, and resilience. It is essential to become aware of the language we use internally, as it determines the energy we carry into the world. Start by noticing the subtle ways negative self-talk enters your mind. Do you criticize yourself after a mistake? Do you ruminate on past failures or limitations? When you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, consciously reframe the thought. Replace "I can't" with "I am learning." Replace "I'm not good enough" with "I am enough just as I am." Over time, this shift in self-talk will align your internal energy with a more positive and empowering narrative. Energy management also extends to how we approach goal setting. Setting goals is an important way to channel energy into meaningful action, but the energy behind the goal is just as important as the goal itself. If the energy behind a goal is driven by fear, pressure, or competition, the pursuit of that goal will drain energy. But if the energy behind the goal is driven by passion, purpose, and alignment with your values, the pursuit becomes energizing, even in the face of challenges. Take, for example, the difference between pursuing a goal because of external expectations versus pursuing a goal because it aligns with your deepest values and desires. A person who is chasing a goal to meet others' approval may feel exhausted, resentful, and disconnected throughout the process. But someone pursuing a goal driven by internal motivation, by passion, curiosity, or a deep sense of purpose, will find the journey energizing, even when faced with setbacks. This shift in energy is not about abandoning ambition or hard work. It's about aligning your energy with your authentic self. When you are in tune with your true desires, when your goals reflect your values, the pursuit becomes an act of joy, not obligation. Your energy naturally flows toward the goal, and the path becomes one of growth and fulfillment. Finally, surrounding yourself with the right energy means engaging with life with an open heart and mind. Life is not a series of isolated events, but a connected, evolving journey. Every person you meet, every experience you have, and every moment you live is part of a larger story. The energy you bring to each moment, whether through curiosity, empathy, or presence, creates ripples that affect the world around you. You are never just a passive observer. You are an active participant in the energetic exchange that shapes your reality. When you engage with life from this perspective, you begin to see every experience as an opportunity to learn, grow, and contribute. Every challenge becomes a chance to practice resilience, every relationship an opportunity to deepen connection, and every success an invitation to appreciate the abundance that exists in your life. This mindset shifts your perception of the world, transforming even mundane moments into moments of profound connection and meaning. The energy you surround yourself with, whether from your physical environment, your relationships, your digital spaces, or your internal thoughts, shapes the life you lead. By consciously choosing to cultivate energy that aligns with your values, your passions, and your highest potential, you create a life that is not only resilient to external challenges, but also expansive, joyful, and fulfilling. Part 5. The language of self-talk. There is a hidden power in the words we speak, both to others and to ourselves. Every thought, every internal conversation, every narrative we tell ourselves shapes our experience of the world. The language of self-talk is perhaps one of the most influential yet underappreciated forces in our lives. It determines not only how we perceive ourselves, but also how we engage with the world, how we handle challenges, and how we navigate relationships. Self-talk is not just a reflection of our thoughts. It is the foundation upon which our beliefs and actions are built. The words we speak internally have the power to shape our emotions, influence our decisions, and ultimately dictate the course of our lives. But the most profound aspect of self-talk is its ability to create the reality we live in. Our thoughts are not just passive reflections of the world. They are active creators of our experience. Let's start by exploring the fundamental truth that our thoughts shape our energy. Think about the first thing you say to yourself in the morning. Is it a positive affirmation, or do you immediately criticize yourself for feeling tired, for not accomplishing more, or for not being where you think you should be in life? The way we talk to ourselves in those first moments of the day sets the tone for everything that follows. If we start our day with self-criticism or judgment, we are planting seeds of negativity that will grow throughout the day. If, however, we begin with positive, affirming words, we are setting ourselves up for a day of confidence, clarity, and resilience. This simple but powerful shift in self-talk is a game changer. It doesn't require grand gestures or drastic changes. It simply requires awareness and intention. When you begin to recognize the language you use with yourself, you can start to shift from a narrative of limitation to one of possibility. Instead of telling yourself, "I can't do this," you can choose to say, "I am capable of learning and I will find a way." Instead of "I'm not good enough," try saying, "I am enough as I am and I am growing every day." The language of possibility opens doors that the language of limitation keeps closed. The power of self-talk extends to the way we approach challenges and setbacks. Life is full of obstacles, and how we respond to them often determines our success or failure. When we face a challenge, our self-talk can either be a source of empowerment or a source of defeat. Let's say you're confronted with a difficult project at work. The first instinct might be to panic, to think, "I'm not qualified for this," or "This is too much for me to handle." This self-talk creates an immediate emotional response, fear, anxiety, and self-doubt, which makes it harder to think clearly and take action. Now, imagine the alternative. Instead of getting caught up in negative self-talk, you reframe the situation with empowering language. You tell yourself, "This is a challenge and I am capable of rising to it. I have the skills to handle this, and I will take it one step at a time." This shift in language creates a shift in energy. Instead of feeling overwhelmed and powerless, you feel capable and in control. You're still facing the same challenge, but your mindset has shifted from one of defeat to one of possibility. The language of self-talk directly impacts your ability to navigate the challenge with clarity and confidence. The language of self-talk also plays a critical role in how we relate to failure. In our society, failure is often seen as something to be avoided at all costs. We are taught to fear it, to equate it with inadequacy, and to hide it at all costs. But failure is not the end of the road. It is simply a part of the process. Failure is where growth happens. When we learn to reframe failure through positive self-talk, we see it not as a reflection of our worth, but as an opportunity to learn, adapt, and evolve. Instead of saying, "I failed, I'm a failure," try saying, "I failed, but I learned something valuable, and I will use that knowledge to do better next time." This shift in language transforms failure from a negative, defining experience into a positive, empowering lesson. It frees you from the weight of self-judgment and opens up space for growth. The language you use in moments of failure determines whether you remain stuck or move forward. To truly transform our relationship with self-talk, we need to develop the ability to recognize when our internal dialogue is negative or unhelpful. This requires mindfulness and self-awareness. Start by paying attention to the language you use when things go wrong. Are you critical? Do you blame yourself? Do you catastrophize the situation? When you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, pause and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this language serving me? How can I reframe this situation in a way that empowers me? For example, let's say you've just had a disagreement with a close friend or partner. The first instinct might be to think, "I messed up. I always say the wrong thing. I'm a terrible communicator." These negative thoughts reinforce a sense of inadequacy and guilt. But instead, you can reframe the situation by saying, "I made a mistake, but I am learning how to communicate better. This is an opportunity to understand my friend's perspective and to improve our relationship." This shift in language turns the situation from a source of shame into an opportunity for growth and connection. In addition to reframing negative self-talk, it's important to cultivate a habit of affirmations, positive statements that reinforce our self-worth, capabilities, and potential. Affirmations are not mere wishful thinking. They are a way of reprogramming the subconscious mind to align with our true potential. By consistently repeating affirmations, we retrain our minds to focus on the positive aspects of ourselves and our lives. Some examples of powerful affirmations include: I am worthy of love, success, and happiness. I am capable of overcoming any challenge that comes my way. Every day, I am becoming a better version of myself. I trust myself and my decisions. I am grateful for the opportunities that come my way. By speaking these affirmations daily, you begin to shift your internal dialogue from one of doubt and fear to one of confidence and possibility. Over time, this practice rewires your brain, making positive self-talk more natural and automatic. Another essential tool for transforming self-talk is visualization. Visualization is the practice of imagining yourself succeeding, achieving your goals, or overcoming obstacles. By vividly picturing positive outcomes, you align your thoughts and emotions with the energy of success. Visualization is especially powerful when paired with affirmations. As you affirm your capabilities, take a moment to picture yourself succeeding, whether it's delivering a successful presentation, completing a challenging project, or navigating a difficult conversation with ease. Visualization allows you to create a mental blueprint for success, reinforcing the belief that what you desire is possible. When you consistently visualize success, you prime your mind and body to act in alignment with that success. You begin to make decisions, take actions, and communicate in ways that support your goals. The energy you project into the world becomes aligned with your intentions, making success not only possible but inevitable. Let's take the example of a young entrepreneur starting a business. At first, the journey is filled with doubt and uncertainty. The self-talk might be filled with thoughts like, "I'm not experienced enough. I don't have the resources. What if I fail?" These thoughts can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, but by consciously shifting the self-talk to, I am capable, I have everything I need to succeed, every challenge is an opportunity to grow, the entrepreneur reprograms their energy. They begin to take bold actions, make informed decisions, and attract the right opportunities. Their belief in their ability to succeed fuels their actions and creates the energy of success, which is then reflected in the outcomes they achieve. The language of self-talk is not just about changing the words you say to yourself. It's about shifting your entire internal narrative. It's about recognizing that the stories you tell yourself shape your life. And the beautiful truth is that you have the power to rewrite those stories at any time. When you embrace the language of self-talk as a tool for transformation, you reclaim the narrative of your life. You take control of your energy, your emotions, and your actions. You become the author of your own story, writing each chapter with intention, clarity, and purpose. As we continue to explore the power of self-talk, it becomes clear that this practice is not just a tool for overcoming self-doubt. It is the foundation for creating a life of purpose, resilience, and emotional strength. The way we talk to ourselves shapes not only how we feel about ourselves, but how we show up in the world. When we engage in negative self-talk, we reinforce feelings of inadequacy, fear, and self-sabotage. But when we choose to speak to ourselves with kindness, encouragement, and empowerment, we begin to unlock our full potential. The key to transforming self-talk lies in consistency. Just as building a new habit takes time and repetition, changing the way we speak to ourselves requires daily effort and mindfulness. But the rewards are worth it. By consciously choosing positive, affirming language, we rewire our brains to align with our highest aspirations, creating a mental environment where confidence, creativity, and success can thrive. It's important to recognize that self-talk is not about ignoring challenges or pretending that everything is perfect. Life is full of difficulties, setbacks, and uncertainties. But how we choose to talk to ourselves in the face of these challenges determines how we move forward. A person who speaks to themselves with self-compassion and encouragement will approach challenges with a sense of curiosity and resilience. They will see obstacles as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than as insurmountable barriers. On the other hand, a person who engages in negative self-talk will be more likely to shrink back, give up, or become overwhelmed by fear and doubt. In addition to reframing challenges, it's crucial to cultivate a mindset of abundance. Negative self-talk often arises from a mindset of scarcity, a belief that there is not enough success, love, or opportunity to go around. This mindset can trap us in feelings of competition, comparison, and inadequacy. But when we adopt a mindset of abundance, we recognize that there is more than enough for everyone. Success is not limited, love is not finite, and opportunities are everywhere. By affirming this mindset daily through self-talk, we shift our internal energy from scarcity to abundance, opening ourselves up to limitless possibilities. One of the most effective ways to cultivate an abundance mindset is through daily affirmations. Affirmations are simple, positive statements that reinforce the beliefs we want to cultivate. By repeating affirmations each day, we begin to reprogram our minds to focus on what is possible rather than what is lacking. Here are a few examples of powerful abundance affirmations. There is enough success and opportunity for everyone, including me. I am worthy of love, respect, and success. I trust the process of life and know that everything is unfolding perfectly. I have everything I need to achieve my goals and dreams. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth and learning. When we repeat these affirmations, we are not simply wishing for something to happen. We are affirming the truth of what is already available to us. We are reinforcing our belief in our own worth, capabilities, and the abundance of the universe. Over time, these affirmations become embedded in our subconscious mind, replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Visualization is another powerful tool that complements self-talk and affirmations. When we visualize success, we activate the same neural pathways that would be activated if we were actually experiencing that success in real life. Visualization helps us internalize our goals and desires, making them feel real and attainable. It also helps us prepare mentally for challenges, so that when we face obstacles, we can respond with confidence and clarity. Take a moment to visualize yourself achieving a goal you've been working toward. Picture the process, the steps, and the emotions you will feel as you reach that goal. See yourself succeeding, overcoming challenges, and celebrating your accomplishment. As you do this, notice how your energy shifts. Your confidence rises, your focus sharpens, and your belief in your ability to succeed grows stronger. This visualization not only reinforces positive self-talk, but it also creates a roadmap for your success, making it feel more attainable and real. Another key element of transforming self-talk is the practice of self-compassion. Often, we are our own harshest critics, berating ourselves for mistakes, failures, or perceived shortcomings. But self-compassion is the antidote to negative self-talk. When we treat ourselves with kindness, understanding, and patience, we create an environment in which growth and healing can thrive. Self-compassion means acknowledging our imperfections without judgment, offering ourselves the same love and support we would offer a friend in need. Consider a time when you made a mistake or failed at something. How did you talk to yourself? Did you beat yourself up, or did you acknowledge the mistake and offer yourself compassion? The language we use in these moments is crucial. Instead of saying, "I can't believe I messed up, I'm such a failure," try saying, "I made a mistake and that's okay. I am learning and growing, and I will do better next time." This shift in language fosters a sense of self-acceptance and allows us to move forward with greater resilience and self-trust. One final aspect of self-talk transformation is the power of perspective. The way we frame our experiences and challenges can dramatically alter our emotional response and overall energy. Instead of viewing obstacles as roadblocks, try reframing them as opportunities for growth. Instead of seeing failure as a reflection of your worth, view it as a stepping stone on the path to success. The language we use to describe our experiences shapes how we feel about them and ultimately how we respond to them. For example, let's say you're working on a project and it doesn't go as planned. Instead of thinking, "I failed," reframe it by saying, "This project didn't turn out the way I expected, but I learned valuable lessons that will help me improve next time." This reframing creates a shift from self-criticism to growth and learning. It allows you to approach setbacks with curiosity and resilience, rather than fear and self-doubt. The most powerful transformation occurs when we integrate positive self-talk into every aspect of our lives. It becomes the lens through which we view the world, and it shapes the way we interact with others. As you begin to practice positive self-talk, you'll notice a shift in your energy. You'll become more confident, more resilient, and more open to opportunities. Your internal dialogue will no longer be a source of limitation, but a source of empowerment and possibility. But this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, patience, and consistent practice. The more you engage in positive self-talk, the more natural it will become. And as it becomes a regular part of your life, you'll begin to notice profound changes in your mindset, your relationships, and your overall sense of well-being. Self-talk is not just a tool, it is a way of life. By consciously choosing the language we use with ourselves, we take control of our inner narrative. We empower ourselves to see the good, to overcome challenges, and to embrace our full potential. The language of self-talk creates the reality we live in. And when we choose to speak to ourselves with love, compassion, and belief, we unlock the energy of possibility and transformation. Part 6. Mindfulness and the present moment. There is a quiet, subtle power in the present moment, one that often goes unnoticed because it exists between the constant noise of our past regrets and future worries. The present moment is where life truly happens, yet we are often too preoccupied to fully engage with it. We live in a world that values the past, what we've done, who we've been, and the future, what we will achieve, what we will become. But the truth is, the only moment we truly have is now. And this moment, when fully embraced, is a gateway to peace, clarity, and a deep sense of connection with life itself. Mindfulness is the practice of cultivating awareness and presence in the present moment. It is not a passive state of mind. Rather, it is an active engagement with the world around us, a conscious choice to observe without judgment what is happening inside and outside of us. Through mindfulness, we shift from autopilot mode, where we are constantly reacting to life, to a place of clarity, where we can respond with intention and purpose. But the beauty of mindfulness is not just in its ability to calm the mind or reduce stress. It is in its capacity to awaken us to the richness of life, the richness of the now. So often we rush through our days, lost in the hum of productivity and the pull of to-do lists. But in doing so, we miss out on the simple joys of life, the feeling of the sun on our face, the sound of laughter, the taste of a warm meal, the beauty of a quiet moment. These things, simple though they may be, are the fabric of life itself. And when we stop long enough to appreciate them, we realize that life is already abundant, already rich, already full of blessings. The challenge, however, is that our minds are often pulled away from the present moment. We are conditioned to worry about the future, to replay the past, and to constantly analyze and judge our experiences. These mental habits create a state of mental clutter, where peace and clarity are hard to find. The more we focus on what has been or what might be, the more we lose touch with the present. And yet, it is in the present that all possibility exists. The past is gone, and the future has not yet arrived. The present is where we can create, heal, and grow. Mindfulness invites us to let go of the need to control everything, to release the grip of past narratives and future projections, and to simply be with what is. This doesn't mean that we ignore our past or future. It means that we acknowledge their presence without letting them dominate our experience of the now. It is the ability to recognize that the present moment, though fleeting, is all we really have, and it holds within it everything we need to find peace and clarity. Consider for a moment the act of drinking a cup of tea. In an ordinary moment, you might drink your tea while thinking about your next task, worrying about your day, or running through a mental checklist. But when you drink your tea mindfully, you are fully present with the experience. You notice the warmth of the cup in your hands, the aroma of the tea, the taste as it touches your lips. You are not distracted by the past or the future. You are simply there in the moment, enjoying the tea for what it is. This is mindfulness, a shift from automatic, distracted living to intentional, present living. Mindfulness is often practiced through meditation, a formal practice that trains the mind to focus on the present moment. Meditation involves sitting quietly, focusing on the breath, and noticing the thoughts that arise without judgment. Over time, this practice strengthens our ability to stay present in everyday life. We begin to notice when our minds wander, and we gently guide them back to the present, back to the breath, back to the sensations we are experiencing in the moment. But mindfulness isn't just something we do on a meditation cushion. It is a way of living. It is the practice of bringing awareness to everything we do. When you're walking, pay attention to the feel of your feet on the ground. When you're eating, notice the taste and texture of your food. When you're having a conversation, be fully present with the other person, listening deeply and without distraction. The more we bring mindfulness into our daily lives, the more we begin to see and appreciate the richness of the present moment. The beauty of mindfulness is that it does not require a change in external circumstances. You don't need to go on a retreat, change your environment, or wait for the perfect moment to begin. The present moment is always available to you. All you need to do is choose to be present with it. And when you do, You will begin to notice a profound shift in your experience of life. Imagine sitting in a quiet park, the sound of birds chirping in the background, the breeze gently rustling the leaves of nearby trees. In that moment, you may feel a sense of peace, a deep connection to nature, and a sense of gratitude for being alive. Now, think about how often we miss moments like this. We rush through our days, consumed by tasks, concerns, and distractions. We forget to stop and appreciate the simple beauty around us. But when we practice mindfulness, we slow down. We take time to observe, to feel, to be present. And in doing so, we open ourselves to the joy and peace that is always available to us. One of the most powerful effects of mindfulness is its ability to reduce stress and anxiety. When we are caught in the cycle of overthinking and worry, we create tension in the body and mind. But mindfulness breaks that cycle. When we focus on the present moment, we let go of the need to control everything. We stop projecting into the future or dwelling on the past. This creates a deep sense of relief as we release the mental clutter that causes stress. It allows us to experience life as it is, without judgment, without fear, and without expectation. Consider the example of a busy professional in Washington, D.C., who begins to incorporate mindfulness into their daily routine. Instead of rushing from one task to the next, they start their day with 5 minutes of mindful breathing. Throughout the day, they take short breaks to check in with themselves, noticing the sensations in their body and the thoughts in their mind. Over time, they begin to feel more present, more focused, and less overwhelmed by the demands of their job. Mindfulness helps them manage stress, improve their productivity, and find peace amidst the chaos. This is the transformative power of mindfulness. It creates a space of calm in the midst of a busy world. Mindfulness also has profound benefits for relationships. When we are present with others, we show them that we value their time and their presence. We listen deeply, without judgment, and without the need to respond immediately. This creates a space for genuine connection, where both parties feel heard and understood. Mindful listening is an act of love, an act of presence, and an act of respect. When we cultivate mindfulness in our relationships, we create deeper, more authentic connections. It is also important to note that mindfulness is not about achieving perfection. It is not about eliminating distractions, silencing the mind, or reaching a state of calm at all times. Mindfulness is about awareness, being aware of what is happening right now in this moment without judgment. If your mind wanders, notice it without frustration. If you become distracted, gently bring your attention back to the present. Mindfulness is a practice, and like any practice, it is about progress, not perfection. Finally, mindfulness teaches us the art of acceptance. So often, we resist the present moment, wishing it were different or better. But the present moment as it is all we have. Mindfulness invites us to accept the moment fully, with all its imperfections and challenges. It encourages us to let go of the need to control and to simply be with what is. When we accept the present moment, we find peace. We release the struggle and embrace the flow of life. Part 7. Acts of kindness that rewire the heart. There is a profound power in kindness, a power that extends far beyond a simple act of goodwill. Kindness is not just a behavior, it is a force that reshapes us from the inside out. When we engage in acts of kindness, whether big or small, we are not only benefiting others, we are rewiring our own hearts, minds, and souls. Kindness in its purest form is an energy exchange. When we give kindness, we receive it, and in doing so, we become more connected to the world around us, more aligned with our higher selves, and more attuned to the deeper purpose of our lives. At the heart of kindness is compassion, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It is the recognition that we are all interconnected, that the pain of one is the pain of many, and that the joy of one is the joy of all. When we practice kindness, we begin to see beyond our own struggles and connect with the humanity in everyone we encounter. This connection is not just a mental or emotional bond. It is an energetic resonance that vibrates through our hearts and radiates outward into the world. Kindness is often misunderstood as something we do for others when we feel good about it or when it's convenient. But true kindness is a practice, a conscious decision to act with compassion, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, and even when we are struggling ourselves. Kindness is not a reflection of our circumstances. It is a reflection of our capacity for empathy and love. It is a reminder that, no matter what we are going through, we have the power to lift others up, and in doing so, we elevate ourselves. The first and perhaps most powerful lesson about kindness is that it is not just about giving, it is also about receiving. The act of kindness has a ripple effect. When we give kindness to others, we create a space for others to give kindness back to us. But more than that, kindness shifts our energy in ways that are transformative. It rewires our hearts, opening us up to deeper connection, gratitude, and joy. When we give without expectation, we create an energetic flow that nourishes both the giver and the receiver. This cycle of giving and receiving creates an environment in which both individuals are uplifted, their hearts and minds are expanded, and their lives are enriched. One of the most profound impacts of kindness is its ability to shift our perspective. It is easy to become consumed by our own challenges, to focus solely on what we don't have, or what we're lacking. Kindness pulls us out of this self-centered view and places our focus on others. It forces us to see the world through a more expansive lens, one that recognizes the needs and struggles of others, and calls us to respond with compassion. When we act with kindness, we shift our attention away from our own fears and insecurities, and we direct our energy toward lifting others up. This act of selflessness has a transformative effect on both the person we are helping and ourselves. It creates a sense of fulfillment and purpose that cannot be found in selfish pursuits. Consider the simple act of holding the door open for someone. At first glance, it may seem trivial, but this small gesture of kindness can have a profound impact on both you and the person you are helping. For the person receiving the kindness, it may be a moment of relief, a reminder that there is still goodness in the world. For you, the giver, it creates a sense of connection and warmth, reinforcing the belief that we are all part of something larger than ourselves. This small act may seem insignificant, but it is a powerful reminder that every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the potential to change the course of someone's day, and even their life. Acts of kindness can also take on a much larger scale, such as volunteering for a cause, donating time or money to those in need, or standing up for justice in the face of inequality. These acts require more effort and commitment, but they are equally transformative. When we dedicate our time, resources, or energy to a cause greater than ourselves, we not only make a tangible impact on the world, we also rewire our hearts and minds. We connect with the collective energy of those who share our vision, and we tap into a wellspring of inspiration and motivation that drives us to keep giving. The energy created by these larger acts of kindness has a lasting ripple effect, extending beyond the immediate recipient to the community, the world, and beyond. One example of a large-scale act of kindness comes from a story in which a group of volunteers decided to build homes for families living in poverty. The volunteers did not expect recognition or compensation. They simply wanted to help. As they worked side by side with the families they were helping, the sense of community and connection grew. The families were deeply grateful for the homes, but it was the volunteers who found themselves transformed by the experience. By giving of themselves, they received the profound gift of connection, purpose, and love. The energy of the project, both from the volunteers and the families, created a powerful exchange that enriched everyone involved. But perhaps the most powerful acts of kindness are those that we perform for ourselves. We are often quick to give to others but hesitant to give to ourselves. Yet, self-kindness is an essential practice for healing, growth, and inner peace. Self-kindness is the act of treating ourselves with the same care, compassion, and understanding that we would offer to a loved one. It is the practice of forgiving ourselves, acknowledging our imperfections, and honoring our worth. In a world that often values achievement over self-care, it can be difficult to recognize the importance of self-kindness. We are often taught to be hard on ourselves, to push ourselves to do more, be more, and achieve more. But self-kindness is not about indulgence or complacency. It is about nurturing our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. It is about recognizing that we are worthy of love and care, not because of what we accomplish, but because we are human. When we practice self-kindness, we heal the wounds of self-criticism, self-doubt, and shame. We create the space for self-love to flourish, and we give ourselves permission to grow, evolve, and become our best selves. One of the most effective ways to practice self-kindness is through self-compassionate self-talk. When you make a mistake, instead of berating yourself, offer yourself words of encouragement. Instead of saying, "I'm such a failure," try saying, "I made a mistake, but that's okay. I'm learning and growing." When you face a challenge, instead of doubting your abilities, say, "I'm capable of handling this. I've overcome obstacles before, and I will do it again." This simple shift in language from self-criticism to self-compassion can have a profound impact on your emotional state, your self-esteem, and your ability to persevere through difficult times. Another powerful practice of self-kindness is setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are an act of love both for yourself and for others. When you set boundaries, you are honoring your needs, your time, and your energy. You are saying, "I am worthy of respect, and I will not tolerate anything that diminishes my well-being." Setting boundaries is an act of kindness because it protects your mental, emotional, and physical health. It allows you to give to others without sacrificing your own needs. When we are kind to ourselves, we are better able to be kind to others. The energy of kindness is not limited. It multiplies and spreads. The more we practice kindness toward ourselves, the more we can extend that kindness to the world. It creates a cycle of positivity, compassion, and love that continues to grow and amplify. One simple yet profound way to practice kindness is through random acts of kindness. These are small, spontaneous gestures that are done without expectation or obligation. Whether it's paying for someone's coffee, offering a compliment, or helping a neighbor with groceries, random acts of kindness have a ripple effect. They brighten someone's day, uplift their spirit, and remind them that kindness still exists in the world. And the beauty is, when we give kindness freely, we receive it in return, sometimes in the form of gratitude and sometimes in the form of a simple shift in our own hearts. These acts of kindness are an energetic exchange that enhances both the giver and the receiver, creating a world where love, care, and compassion flow freely. Part 8. The Science of Neuroplasticity. There's a fascinating truth about the human brain. It is not static. For years, science believed that once we reached adulthood, the brain's structure and function were set. It was thought that we could not change the way our brain worked, that the neural pathways we created in childhood and adolescence were permanent. But modern neuroscience has revealed a groundbreaking discovery. Our brains are incredibly malleable, capable of rewiring themselves throughout our entire lives. This concept is known as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections in response to learning, experience, or injury. It means that the brain is not a fixed entity but a dynamic system that can be shaped by our actions, thoughts, and behaviors. The way we think, the way we speak to ourselves, the way we engage with the world, all of these things influence the structure and function of our brains. This concept is not just a scientific curiosity, it is a source of empowerment. If neuroplasticity shows us anything, it is this: we have the power to change. We have the ability to reshape our thoughts, our emotions, and even our behavior. Our past does not have to define our future. Whether it's overcoming limiting beliefs, breaking free from negative thought patterns, or cultivating new habits, the science of neuroplasticity offers us the tools to reprogram our minds and transform our lives. Let's start by exploring how neuroplasticity works. The brain is made up of billions of neurons, specialized cells that transmit information throughout the body. These neurons communicate with one another through synapses, which are tiny gaps between the neurons. When we engage in a particular activity or experience, the neurons involved in that process communicate more frequently, strengthening the connections between them. This creates neural pathways, basically roads through the brain that become more efficient the more we use them. Imagine driving on a dirt road. The more you drive along that road, the more defined and clear it becomes. Over time, it transforms into a well-worn path. The same principle applies to the brain. The more we engage in a particular thought or behavior, the stronger the neural pathway becomes, and the more automatic that thought or behavior becomes. This is why habits form so easily. Once a pathway is established, it becomes the default way of thinking or doing something. But what if we want to change that pathway? What if we want to break free from negative thought patterns, unhealthy habits, or limiting beliefs? The good news is that neuroplasticity also allows for the creation of new pathways. Just as we can form new roads in the physical world, we can form new neural connections in the brain. This is where the concept of intentionality comes in. By consciously choosing to think differently, behave differently, or engage with new experiences, we can reshape our brain's structure and function. One of the most powerful tools in this process is mindfulness. Mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment, has been shown to have a profound impact on the brain. Studies have found that mindfulness can actually increase the thickness of the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for decision-making, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. This means that practicing mindfulness not only improves our mental clarity and emotional balance, it physically changes the brain, enhancing our ability to respond to life's challenges with calmness and insight. Consider the example of someone who has struggled with anxiety for years. Their brain has developed strong neural pathways that associate certain situations, such as public speaking, social interactions, or even driving, with fear and stress. These pathways are deeply ingrained, making anxiety feel like an automatic response. However, through consistent mindfulness practice, this person can begin to create new neural pathways that associate these situations with calm, presence, and confidence. Over time, these new pathways strengthen, and the automatic response to anxiety begins to diminish. The brain has been rewired, and the individual's experience of anxiety shifts from overwhelming to manageable. Another example of neuroplasticity in action comes from the field of rehabilitation. When someone experiences brain injury or stroke, certain neural pathways may be damaged, impairing movement or cognitive function. However, the brain's plasticity allows for remarkable recovery. With intensive therapy and practice, new pathways can form to compensate for the damage. The brain doesn't simply fix itself, it creates new pathways, allowing the individual to regain function in ways that were once thought impossible. This incredible adaptability is a testament to the brain's capacity for change and resilience. So, how can we harness the power of neuroplasticity to reprogram our minds and create lasting change in our lives? It begins with awareness. The first step in reshaping our neural pathways is recognizing the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that we want to change. For example, if we struggle with self-doubt, we must first become aware of the negative thoughts that fuel that doubt. These thoughts might be automatic. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Why bother trying? But once we become aware of these thoughts, we can begin to challenge them. The next step is to replace these negative thoughts with more empowering, positive ones. This is where the practice of affirmations comes in. Affirmations are positive statements that we repeat to ourselves to reinforce new beliefs and behaviors. For example, instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," we can say, "I am worthy, capable, and deserving of success." The more we repeat these affirmations, the more we strengthen the neural pathways associated with positive self-belief. Over time, these new pathways become the default, and the old, limiting beliefs begin to fade away. Another powerful strategy for harnessing neuroplasticity is visualization. Visualization is the practice of imagining ourselves achieving our goals, succeeding in challenging situations, and living our best lives. When we visualize success, we activate the same neural pathways as if we were actually experiencing the success in real life. This not only strengthens our belief in our ability to achieve our goals, but it also primes the brain to recognize opportunities and solutions that align with our vision. Let's say you're preparing for a big presentation at work. If you focus on the fear and self-doubt, what if I mess up? You're reinforcing the neural pathways associated with anxiety and failure. But if you choose to visualize yourself delivering a successful, confident presentation, you are strengthening the neural pathways associated with success and confidence. As you practice this visualization regularly, you train your brain to respond to the situation with calmness and assurance, rather than fear and doubt. One of the most exciting aspects of neuroplasticity is that it works in tandem with the power of habits. When we practice new behaviors consistently, we begin to form new neural pathways that make those behaviors automatic. For example, if you want to develop a habit of exercising regularly, start small. The first few times may feel challenging, but each time you engage in the behavior, you are strengthening the neural pathway associated with exercise. Over time, this behavior becomes easier, more natural, and automatic until it becomes a part of your routine. The same applies to any positive habit, whether it's eating healthier, meditating, or practicing gratitude. With consistency and intention, new neural pathways form, and the habit becomes ingrained. But creating new neural pathways doesn't mean that we must ignore or suppress negative emotions. Neuroplasticity teaches us that emotions are not something to be avoided. They are valuable signals that can guide us toward growth. However, it's how we respond to these emotions that determines whether we reinforce positive or negative neural pathways. When we experience negative emotions, such as fear or anger, mindfulness and self-awareness allow us to acknowledge these emotions without being consumed by them. Instead of letting the emotion dictate our behavior, we can choose to respond with intention, practicing self-compassion and reframing the situation in a way that promotes growth and resilience. Over time, this intentional response to emotions strengthens the neural pathways associated with emotional regulation and resilience, making it easier to navigate difficult situations without being overwhelmed by them. Neuroplasticity allows us to rewire our brains to respond with calmness, clarity, and emotional balance, even in the face of stress and adversity. In conclusion, the science of neuroplasticity is a reminder that we are not fixed in our thoughts, behaviors, or emotional patterns. Our brains are incredibly adaptable, capable of change and growth throughout our lives. By practicing mindfulness, challenging limiting beliefs, replacing negative self-talk with positive affirmations, and visualizing success, we can harness the power of neuroplasticity to reshape our minds and create lasting transformation. The past does not define us. We have the power to rewire our brains, to create new neural pathways, and to become the person we aspire to be. The journey begins with awareness, and it continues with the choice to engage in practices that support our growth. Neuroplasticity is not just a scientific concept. It is a tool of empowerment that allows us to create the life we desire. Part 9. Building habits that anchor positivity. In life, we often find ourselves at the mercy of our habits, those small, repetitive actions that define our daily routines and ultimately shape the course of our lives. Whether it's the habit of checking our phone first thing in the morning, reaching for a snack when we're stressed, or procrastinating on important tasks, our habits determine our thoughts, actions, and in many ways our success. But while many of our habits are shaped by unconscious patterns, the good news is that we can consciously create new habits, habits that anchor positivity and align with our values and goals. Building habits that anchor positivity is one of the most powerful ways to transform your life. Positive habits not only improve our mental and emotional states, but they also create a foundation for long-term success, well-being, and happiness. Positive habits become the scaffolding upon which we build a life filled with clarity, purpose, and resilience. These habits don't require drastic changes or overwhelming effort. Instead, they are small, intentional actions repeated consistently over time. The key to building positive habits lies in understanding the process of habit formation. At its core, a habit is a neurological pattern that forms when we repeat a behavior consistently. The more often we perform a certain action, the stronger the neural pathways associated with that behavior become. This is why habits can be so powerful. They become automatic, shaping our lives without us even thinking about it. However, the same process that allows negative habits to form also allows positive habits to take root. The more we repeat a positive behavior, the more it becomes ingrained in our daily lives. Let's consider an example: someone who wants to cultivate a habit of gratitude. At first, they might set a reminder each day to write down 3 things they are grateful for. At first, it feels a bit forced, a task they have to remember to do. But as the days go by, it becomes more natural. They begin to notice more moments of gratitude throughout their day: the warmth of the sun, a kind word from a friend, the taste of their favorite meal. The more they practice gratitude, the more it becomes a default lens through which they see the world. What once was a conscious effort becomes an automatic response, deeply woven into the fabric of their life. This is the power of habit. It shifts your internal energy and perspective over time. But how do we create these positive habits in the first place? The first step is to start small. It's easy to become overwhelmed by big goals and lofty aspirations, but positive habits are built through incremental progress. Rather than committing to a full hour of exercise each day, start with just 10 minutes. Instead of aiming to meditate for 30 minutes, begin with 5. The key is to start with manageable actions that feel achievable, then gradually increase the intensity or duration as the habit becomes ingrained. Small, consistent actions compound over time, creating lasting change. Acts of kindness, we discovered, have the power to rewire not just our hearts, but the hearts of those around us. Kindness is a force that connects us all, transcending differences and creating a ripple effect of love and compassion. By practicing kindness, we not only uplift others but ourselves. Kindness creates positive energy, strengthens relationships, and fosters a sense of connection and belonging. It reminds us that we are not separate from each other, but part of a larger whole. Through acts of kindness, we not only heal others but heal ourselves. Finally, we explored the science of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and change throughout our lives. We are not prisoners of our past. We are the architects of our future. By consciously choosing new patterns of thought, behavior, and emotion, we can rewire our brains to create a life of abundance, resilience, and joy. Neuroplasticity gives us the freedom to break free from old habits, limiting beliefs, and past traumas. It empowers us to become the best versions of ourselves and to create the life we desire. So, what do all of these insights, practices, and tools mean for you right now in your own life? The lessons we've explored are not just abstract ideas. They are actionable steps that can be integrated into your daily routine. You have the power to shift your mindset, to create new habits, and to transform your life starting today. The road to transformation begins with a single step: the decision to change. The good news is, you don't need to wait for life to change around you. You can change yourself, and by doing so, you change everything. Here's how you can apply what you've learned. Start with awareness. Pay attention to the way you think and the language you use with yourself. Notice the negative patterns of thought and begin to replace them with positive, empowering statements. Practice gratitude daily. Take time each day to write down or reflect on 3 things you are grateful for. Over time, this practice will shift your focus from what's wrong to what's right in your life. Engage in mindfulness. Dedicate time each day to practicing mindfulness, whether through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply being present in the moment. This practice will help you manage stress and stay grounded in the present. Surround yourself with positive energy. Choose environments and relationships that support your well-being. Engage in activities and interactions that uplift you and disengage from sources of negativity. Embrace self-compassion. When you make mistakes, treat yourself with kindness and understanding. Recognize that growth comes from learning, not perfection. Be kind. Practice kindness, not just toward others, but also toward yourself. Small acts of kindness can transform your day and the lives of those around you. Rewire your brain. Remember that neuroplasticity is a real and powerful tool. You have the ability to change your brain's wiring by creating new habits, learning new skills, and practicing new thought patterns. By incorporating these practices into your life, you begin the process of transforming your mindset and your reality. The journey is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Remember that change happens slowly, and every small step forward is progress. I would love to hear from you. How has this journey resonated with you? What practices are you excited to incorporate into your own life? How do you plan to apply these insights and shift your lens on the world? Feel free to share your thoughts, experiences, and reflections in the comments below. Your feedback can inspire others and help create a community of like-minded individuals who are committed to growth and positivity. If this journey has inspired you, please consider subscribing to Buddhism in every moment. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content and empowers us to bring more tools for transformation into your life. Together, we can build a community of individuals dedicated to living with intention, compassion, and resilience.